Hello and welcome back to another Diplostrats video. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hey Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And we are making a video I never thought was possible. In the last Valefisk commentary video that we did, I mentioned that Valefisk had another diplomacy video, one that he recorded during a hurricane for one of the players. And that I really wanted to commentate that one at the time, but it was a bit too difficult to figure out what all the orders were because it was cut a little less with that in mind than the previous one. Um, Thankfully, a viewer called MaximalMegaminx reached out and said that he'd managed to deduce what almost all of the orders were. He sent me a sandbox, and so here we are. We've got the other Valefisk video, and we're gonna talk through and commentate it. So, a couple things to mention first. Once again, these are diplomacy players. They know how to play diplomacy, except I think Austria, this was their first game. But they aren't diplomacy pros. So, the expert level games that we usually commentate, you should expect these ones to be a little bit different to that. Another thing to mention, this was played on Tabletop Simulator, which isn't the best diplomacy adjudicator out there. It certainly makes for a nice video, right? But it doesn't do all the order resolutions and stuff for you. So there are occasional misadjudications in here where the wrong thing happens as the result of the phase. I'll mention those when they pop up. Other than that, I think we're about ready to jump in. One more thing to mention, we are setting up a Diplostrats Discord server just for the community, and if people want to arrange diplomacy games, you're more than welcome to do it there. So I'll link that in the description below.
And we're gonna be organizing some diplomacy games ourselves, that are gonna be for just the people in our community. So you should join and play diplomacy.
Yep. There, now plugged in, let's get into the orders. Ezio, what do you think of this 1901 board?
So, what you guys didn't hear was when Captain Meme sent the file to me, I groaned when I saw the 1901 moves. Um, because I knew that I was expecting to see new players. I was not expecting to see Budapest and Trieste hold, while Vienna supported Venice into Tyrolia. I
Yeah.
am worried that we are going to see the classic Austria be eliminated by O3. I am hopeful that the other players will take pity on Austria and will not attack them. But seeing Rome move up to Venice as well makes me think they will feel the exact opposite, and we will watch the other players see how quickly can we actually kill Austria. Um, so that's my first thought,
Yeah.
because yikes.
So it's actually not uncommon in newer player games just to have a lot of holding units, or just in games of people who aren't playing a tournament diplomacy, right? Because it's often quite difficult to think about everything in your turn, everything that you want to do, and naturally you kind of want to defend your centers. So the holding there feels right, but on the first year you kind of need to jump out and try and take something. I should note something I didn't mention in the previous video because I did not remember it, although it is mentioned at the start of the Valefisk video. I completely forgot to say, but if you haven't watched that Valefisk video that I'm talking about, please go ahead and do. It's in the description below. They do mention they play with a 10-minute turn timer, which is shorter than most tournament diplomacy. Tournament diplomacy tends to be a 20-minute turn timer in 1901 and then drops down to 15 minutes beyond that point. So I'm not surprised that some of the orders might end up being holds. Especially in your first game, it's going to be a lot to do all the negotiations for 1901 and figure out your orders in just 10 minutes. But yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't change that this support is a very old support to make. Vienna support Venice to Tyrolia. I mean, Ezio, do you want to talk about why that is?
Oh God, I mean, so it's an odd support for a couple of different reasons. And by odd, I do mean terrible. Um, most importantly, it's that you don't want Italy in Tyrolia, basically. Um, as Austria, most of the time when Italy ends up in Tyrolia, they're gonna do something mean to you. Most of the time. In '01 at least, for sure. And so if I knew that Italy was moving to Tyrolia, 90% of the time I would bounce that myself. The only time I wouldn't bounce that myself is if I thought Germany was going to bounce it for me. And so I would never support them in there. The other reason that I don't want to support them in there is because I have other things I really want to be doing with Vienna. Um, and so even if I wasn't like, let's say I was ambivalent about them moving into Tyrolia, which I'm not, I would still want to have Vienna move somewhere else, like bouncing Galicia, or like moving into Budapest while Budapest moves, because I don't want to have enemies next to all of my centers. But instead, Austria is in the unenviable position of having enemies bordering all of their home centers at the start of the at the end of the first turn. And if Austria moved in the right way, they could lose every single center next turn, which would be a 1901 elimination and would be incredible. I have never seen that before.
I do not think that would happen, right? Because if you are moving something like Budapest, it would be into Serbia or Romania, which would keep you alive. But yeah, it would certainly be.
Yes, Budapest
Um,
can't move anywhere. That's funny.
yeah.
Okay, it actually, you can't be eliminated from this position. It is impossible, right?
Yes, I think so.
Wow,
Uh,
that's cool. I hadn't thought about that.
yeah, it's not something we often get to think about at the start of 1901.
Yeah, it might actually be impossible for Austria. No, if Austria moved Vienna into Bohemia, that's how to do it. Got it. All right. But yes, it is possible for Austria to be eliminated in '01, but it's pretty unreasonable.
Yeah, so an important thing here, I don't think Tyrolia is a bad place for the Italian in all circumstances, especially if you think you're facing a juggernaut, which is the Russia-Turkey alliance, right? Getting that Italian unit to the front line can be a lifesaver if it gets up to Bohemia and then pushes you into Galicia. But you do not want it followed with Rome to Venice, because the only reason for following it with Rome to Venice is to push into Trieste. There is well, there's other things it can do, but there's not anything else that it will do. It will go for Trieste. That is generally the case. Should say the actual video gives an explanation for why this happens, right? And that is that Italy and Austria are planning to launch a joint attack on Germany here. So this is the first move of their joint attack, and then in the next phase, they're planning to push the Vienna unit into Bohemia, which it seems reasonable at first. The two major problems with it is it's ignoring the Balkans, which is where the majority of the SCs here are, and it's letting Turkey like take a pretty decent control of that area. But it's also just really slow, right? And you've got now a Russian unit in Galicia, so you can't even leave Vienna without leaving it open to that. Taking 2 turns to push adjacent to an enemy HSC that they can then defend, it's really not very useful.
I'm doing this in '01 when you need to be growing as much as possible. It's not. This attack basically never works, and it certainly doesn't work in '01. And we'll see that. I'm confident. I suspect we will see why we don't see Italy and Austria coordinate against Germany at the start. But good news for Turkey is that Turkey's going to be guaranteed on 5 SCs on the first turn again.
Yep, beautiful Turkey.
I wonder if we're going to see Turkey build fleets this time. Because if we see Turkey just build armies, Turkey might not win still. There's one other move that I want to talk about, though, in particular in this board, and that is Moscow to Livonia.
Yep.
Um, because that's a really, really weird move to see. And it's one that I actually mean is weird. I don't know if it's terrible or not. Um, my assumption is they're going to be convoying that army to Sweden. Is that they are telegraphing a convoy to Sweden 100%. But it also could walk to Prussia. Now, I think both uses of this are pretty anti-German. Because the reason you'd want to convoy into Sweden as opposed to taking Sweden with Gulf of Bothnia is that you can now move Gulf of Bothnia into the Baltic Sea without vacating Sweden. As a result, this move into Livonia makes me, as Germany, almost 100% to bounce Sweden with Denmark, because I don't want to see them end up there. So, if you want to convoy to Sweden, I recommend going to St. Petersburg first. Because St. Petersburg, your claim is, hey, Germany, I'm going to be trying to bounce England out of Norway with my northern army. I want to work with you against England. Let's be friends here. And then for this end, they might let you into Sweden, expecting you to get into a war against England. Boom, you flip the script, you convoy into Sweden, and then you build in Warsaw, and then you get your attack on Germany. Just one of those subtle things. But I'm not convinced that this is crazy, because you also might just move it into Prussia, as moving into Prussia is a standard thing to do, and then you could build in Warsaw and have your land attack against Germany later. So,
Yeah.
it's a thing you might want to do.
So I wanted to mention two things about this, right? The first thing is, Vale actually commented on the last video and said that he and his friends had basically played at least 10 games together at that point, right? And I think in the last video we actually saw exactly what you were saying. We saw Moscow going up to St. Petersburg and then getting convoyed across to Sweden. So I'm wondering if this Sweden convoy is like part of their in-group meta. It's become a standard Russian opening, and they maybe went through that exact same thought process that you're saying, because this game was the earlier game. This game was the game played last year, and the one we commentated last time was played very recently. So I think we might see that. We might have seen that meta development. The other thing to mention is I've actually seen articles written about this kind of opening. It's specifically the Moscow to Livonia thing, as saying it's a way to force Germany to allow you to convoy into Sweden, because you just then go to Germany and you say, hey, if you bounce me out of Sweden, I'm in position to go to Baltic and Prussia, and you don't want me to do that, right? So you have to let me into Sweden. The problem with that, I think, is that, as you mentioned, convoying to Sweden is just as anti-Germany. You do that if you want to go to Baltic Sea anyway. So Germany's not going to let you have a centre because you're threatening them with an attack, when if you get that centre, you're probably going to attack them anyway.
With the far more brutal attack. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to mention about that move. Strangely, it has been written about in diplomacy articles, but it's not a very played move, this one right here. Usually you would send Moscow to St. Petersburg, as Ezio said, or down into Ukraine, or in some rare circumstances you might send it to Sevastopol if you're expecting to get into Black Sea. Livonia is not normal.
Yeah, I like the Sevastopol move. You move into Romania the first turn, and then you move it into Sev, and then you move to Armenia, and then you just crack Turkey in 01, and then you have to guess right everywhere to make this work, but it'd be funny.
Yeah, I actually don't like moving the fleet into Romania very often, because it commits you heavily to Austria in 1901, right? Which is...
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, I do not recommend this unless you're doing it for some meme purposes.
Yes, and also you have to be 100% sure that Austria is on your side.
Or willing to take that risk.
Yeah, that's true.
So those were the two main moves that I wanted to talk about, because the rest of the map, I think, did pretty standard stuff. I think that Italy is unstandard. I blame Austria for this, because I suspect Italy's going to be taking advantage of Austria, and I would expect to see Austria get exploded very quickly. And so if you're not convoying into Tunis, it doesn't really matter, Tyrrhenian Sea versus Ionian, so I skimmed over that. But Germany, I'm fine with this. If you think that they're trying to attack you, trying to slow them down by tapping Tyrolia is great. And then taking Denmark and then moving into Kiel is perfect. France, very standard. And it's nice to be in Picardy if England is moving into the English Channel. You're happy to see that. And England, bog standard stuff. Turkey, bog standard stuff. The rest of the Russian moves look good.
Yeah, there's a bit of an interesting case in England about this army moving to Yorkshire instead of Wales, right? Quite often with this opening, you would see Liverpool moving down to Wales just to be able to convoy it into a French centre. That's if you want to go hyper aggressive against France. This way, it's kind of less aggressive against France, but it's also this is still aggressive against France, right? Moving into English Channel means that France has to cover Brest in some way, or they they
Yep.
or like just risk Brest and go for something else. But usually this space is a demilitarized zone. I do wonder if it's not a demilitarized zone here because it's the English Channel, and so as a player coming into diplomacy, you kind of assume, hey, I'm England, I should be allowed there.
Yep. And with
Yeah.
the move into Yorkshire, I actually don't view this as particularly anti-French. I almost always see this as England taking Belgium.
Yeah.
I think it is annoying to France, and then um, I expect them to cover Brest with their army because their army sometimes goes to Burgundy, in which case, oh, too bad, so sad. But this is as England, I see this as saying, hey, I want to take Belgium, and you just never try to take Brest as England, right? Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't go well, unless Germany gets into Burgundy, in which case we can start talking. But here it's like, okay, I'll take Belgium and be happy. I can convoy to Norway and have a nice game. Everyone's okay.
Yeah, this is the important thing though. With the army in Yorkshire, you are convoying to Norway, always here, right? Because if you want
Uh,
to put an army in Belgium, well, okay, not always. You can convoy into Belgium and
yeah,
like
I'm
go
trying
for
to look at
Brest.
this. Is there any way that I could take Norway with the fleet and
But
then move English Channel to North Sea? I refuse to do that.
yeah, you either have to take Norway with the army or leave the army on your homeland, right? And leaving the army on your homeland in O1 feels really bad because this is one of your few opportunities to get it out easily.
What if you support yourself into Belgium?
Supporting yourself into Belgium is totally possible here, and I think it's a likely continuation of this moveset. But I think it's
Yeah.
also a mistake because I think Norway is a super important place for you to establish your control early because Russia can build units in St. Petersburg immediately, and then your control over Norway is very, very tenuous if you don't already have a unit there.
Have you
Um,
considered the meta where Russia is attacking Germany in O2 because they've convoyed into Sweden?
that's true. I hadn't considered that.
Because you've got a really potent attack against Germany here, and you might be willing to concede Norway to an army build in St. Pete
Yeah,
in order to take advantage.
this is maybe a see. I really don't like Belgium as any Western power, right? I think it's a trap most of the time because the person who goes into it is then the focus of attention of the other people who are next to it. So I
Yep.
much prefer to like say to other people, "Hey, I'll support you into Belgium." If someone offers me support into Belgium, I might take it. I probably will take it. But I certainly don't want to be focusing all my units on taking Belgium in the first turn, because all I'm doing is focusing everything that I could be putting somewhere else on making me public enemy number one. Right?
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. If I take Belgium though, I would just try to take Holland with it and then give it to France. Because yeah, I'm not emotionally attached to that Belgian center.
Yes.
But this is exciting. I really want to see what happens turn two because this is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've discussed everything here, so let's go ahead to fall 1901. So, we do see the convoy into Norway. It's not an attack on Belgium, and actually, English Channel just holds, which is something.
All right.
I
That's
mean,
fine. I mean, look, it's fine, right? You can just be peaceful. This works, and you're just saying, look, I'm an English channel. Don't kick me out, and we'll be good. And I'm not going to attack you. Look, I'm willing to hold with this unit.
It's actually more
Not,
than fine, right? I think it's good in the game where you can get away with it, because the reason you wouldn't do this in most games is that France would then say, "What the hell are you doing in English Channel? Get out." But if they're not
yeah.
saying that, you absolutely want to sit in English Channel. It's a great place to just hang around and totally not be constantly looking at the French censors going, when can I get away with taking this?
Yep. All right, so I have a question for you, Captain Meme. How much do you think that Italy and Austria were talking about moves here?
So I think in the video they actually, because the person making the video is Italy in this, so
Yep.
it's actually quite a bit of it is focused on Italy and Austria. But I don't remember how much they were talking here. I mean, it's only a 10-minute phase. It's only so long you can talk for, right?
Yep.
I
I'm just saying, if you knew that Austria was doing this,
you would.
what would you
Yeah,
do?
I would absolutely just go Tyrolia into Vienna and Venice into Trieste. And be a 3-build Italy in 01. That's insane.
It would be over. Well, all right, it's a good thing we're not in these games with new players.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I
And
mean,
just Venice holds.
that would be
Oh
pretty
God.
devastating. I do see the logic for not doing this, right? In that, I think they already knew. Hang on, I'm gonna wait for Diplostrat's siren to disappear in the background and cut this bit out.
Yeah, it's a real
Okay.
video now.
Right. So yeah, I think they knew the general statistics of Italy and Austria. I think they show them in the video. So they're like, these are the two weak powers. Let's work together, and therefore we can make them not weak, right? Or try to make them not weak, which is
True.
very good logic. That's basically what happens in most diplomacy games. Italy and Austria do tend to work together because they're relatively weak when they're apart. But maybe the big difference to this is if you can get 3 builds in 1901 by stabbing them. I think that's well worth doing.
Yeah, that would be brutal. So brutal. Um,
Yeah.
but hey, um, I think it's gonna work. Uh, I don't know if it's gonna work out. I think Russia made a really, really good decision here to take Romania with a fleet. I assume this means that Russia is going to be building another fleet and is going to start contesting Turkey immediately. And I love this because based on those first moves, Italy or Turkey is going to be on 5 centers, and Italy is probably not going to be able to stop Turkey themselves. And I don't think we can rely on Austria to do anything. So you can't do a normal juggernaut because you will not be able to grow as quickly. You will not be as safe. So I think you're kind of locked into going to war with Turkey. Or else you can see what happened in the previous Valefisk video where Turkey had an uncontested on 1 and just steamrolled over the board
Yeah.
quickly.
It's super dangerous to leave Turkey uncontested in the corner like this, especially with Italy going into Tyrrhenian Sea to start and then into Tunis. Seems to indicate they have some kind of deal with Turkey, but this is actually a really nice position to just run an Italy-Austria-Russia alliance from, which is quite a dangerous alliance for the rest of the board. I think I forgot to mention this on the first turn. I do actually see this Italy Austria going into Tyrolia Bohemia thing in some games, but it's generally paired with. It's quite rare for one, and it's generally paired with Russia going into Cilicia in 01. And you just do all three of the moves at the same time, right? Because there's no point wasting a support just to force one of them through when you're going to get 2 units adjacent to it anyway. But as an AIR opening, that's actually kind of effective. The problem with it is it then signals to the rest of the board, hey, there's an AIR here, you need to react to this immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't view AIRs as a real alliance. I view them as a wintergreen. I
Wintergreen is
always think
Russia Italy, to be
yes, wintergreen
clarified.
is just Russia, Italy. I feel similarly about how a Western triple is just an England-France alliance, and they're gonna kill Germany at some point. I think whenever Italy Russia and Austria work together, they just kill Austria at some point. Um,
I see. I don't always agree. I've seen some Italy, Austria, Russia alliances transform in both directions, right? Into Italy, Austria when Italy just lets Austria kill Russia and goes west. And I've also seen them turn into Austria, Russia alliances. That mostly happens when Italy gets a little too trusting and leaves Venice open when Austria has an army in Trieste, and then Austria just walks in, and that can be really devastating because quite often Italy doesn't really have the units to bring back stuff to defend in time. Um, but yeah, I've seen it. I see it as a lot more flexible than the Western Triple. Western Triple, I completely agree. Most of the time, it's there just to kill Germany in the late game, right? Or even
sure.
mid game. But AIR is a little bit more flexible.
I guess Austria has more stat potential than Germany does, um, because of how Austria is positioned. So that's, I suppose, I don't know. I just, whatever. We'll see how this one goes, how this one turns out.
Right.
I suspect that the new player is not going to come up with just the ballsy Trieste to Venice into Rome stab that
Yeah.
is so disgusting against the Italy's with no build. But that's fine. Um, any other moves you want to talk about in this phase?
Um, I guess. Oh, there was quite a reaction in the video about France getting 3 builds here, and it being France is going to be
Oh,
terrifying. Which is, I mean, it is true. France is very, very strong, but I would be much more concerned about the Turkey with 2 builds off the bat. But yeah,
yeah. I would need to if I knew that Russia was building a fleet Sev, I wouldn't be as worried about Turkey with 2 builds here. Um, if I
yeah,
don't know that, yeah, I'm scared. But I'm like 90% Russia's building a fleet Sev.
yeah. This is definitely a less scary Turkey than if Russia had gone into Romania with an army or had walked into either of Vienna or Budapest, which were both open. I mean, this takes a bold Austria to open like this, right? And go, just say, okay, Russia is in Galicia, I'm gonna leave both of these. Uh, but yeah, it works out for them. So, shall we go ahead to the winter?
Yep, let's see the builds, eh? Tell me it's fleet
Alright.
Trieste. Ah, damn. I
Army
don't need to defend
Budapest.
Budapest. It's fine.
Um,
Oh, that's an army in Sevastopol.
that is.
Uh-oh.
Admittedly, Army
Uh-oh.
Sevastopol can still attack Turkey going down into Armenia, and actually that can be a more effective attack if Turkey doesn't defend against it, because it's adjacent to both Ankara and Smyrna, right? Immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does mean that your fleet is just pinned there, and Turkey is going to keep the Black Sea, which is painful for you if you're going to war with them.
I mean, you just, you don't, yeah, I don't know.
Mm. I should say, like, I am probably the number 1 proponent of Russia never building fleets. If I play as Russia, quite often you'll see in like Blitz videos and stuff. If I play as Russia, I'm putting down Army Moscow, Army Moscow, Army Moscow every single turn, just because it's the most flexible unit possible. And if you build a fleet, you're committing to a theater, right? With that fleet, you
God,
can't
of
move it to
course you
help.
love Army Moscow. That's right, because it doesn't do anything.
It
It's the
does
slowest build.
It does
It's the
plenty. It just does it when you've decided what you want to be doing. It has lots of
Yeah, or you
potential
can decide what you
options.
want to do a turn ahead of time.
Uh, but
Anyways, I love it. I'm glad. I agree that Fleet Sev is committal, and I don't love building fleets as Russia. Um, I don't love it because it leaves you so exposed. Um, but my point about needing, if I know I need to go to war with Turkey, then I want to have a second fleet because this this fleet in Romania gets disbanded always. It goes away so often, and when Italy has full or Italy when Turkey has full power to convoy with impunity and you can't touch it, you're gonna have a bad time.
yeah, that is true. I do completely agree. I think the fleet Sevastopol would have been better here, just because you have to deal with this Turkey.
Yeah.
Builds
But
elsewhere.
that said, if Turkey had
Oh,
like built Fleet Ankara, I think you're really happy to have gone for this army. Because if Turkey's committing to a full extra fleet, they would probably be able to fleet and con. But if they have a second fleet, then suddenly you're not going to force Black Sea, and then your army is going to be more useful. But
yeah,
I don't know. You're not going to take Black Sea here, right? You're gonna struggle.
yeah,
There's one other build that's really cool. Army Eddie.
yes. This is a super interesting one, right? Because it initially you would think if you're gonna put down an army, you should put down Army London because it can be convoyed by either unit. But diplomatically, I think this is a really nice build. It says, hey, I may be an English channel, but I'm not going to threaten you, France, by putting down Army London. I'm going to deliberately put it somewhere where I can't do as much with it that's against you. I can just do the stuff that's against other people. Right?
Yeah, but also diplomatically, I want to have it in London because then I can sell this story to Germany.
Yeah, that is true. This is
Like,
like very committal to an England-France alliance, which
yeah,
I feel like might be a good play if you anyway, just because France might. Well, if France is letting you stay in the English Channel, I think an England-France alliance is a really good option for you, right? But
yeah,
also,
but
I would usually just build a fleet rather than an army here because it's so hard to get this anywhere, right?
just build a fleet, right? It's a really common British trap to get stuck building too many fleets, right? A classic noob mistake is to be on 10 centers as England and have 9 fleets, right?
Yeah.
But there's a reason why you want a lot of fleets as England, because this army doesn't do anything.
Well, yeah. Oh, okay. So yes, it doesn't do anything. I think it could get convoyed into Holland and get supported, right? And then you're okay. Um, if Germany sees that coming, they can of course support hold Holland with Kiel, but it doesn't feel good to keep the fleet in Kiel, right? You really want to be mobilizing that as Germany. So I think you have one turn's leeway to get that off, but that is really your only option for getting this army off the British mainland. If you try and
It
go for
also does
Norway
go to
here,
Belgium.
you have to move to Norway to somewhere like Finland maybe, or get German support into Sweden, which isn't going to work because Russia has fleet Bothnia. Yeah, you could get support into Belgium. That is actually a really good point. You could just build Army Edinburgh to tell France, hey, I'm not doing anything against you, I can't convoy it into Picardy or whatever. And then you go, aha, I'm doing it anyway.
You just convoy straight into Picardy.
I feel like that ties down too many of your units doing something
What's English
that's.
Channel doing this turn, man?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Maybe the Picardy attack is pretty good, actually. You just convoy
It's
through both of these
hilarious. It's
fleets.
terrible, but it's hilarious. There's a big problem here, right? Because we've built an army in Eddie, and for this army in Eddie to do anything, it must be convoyed. The only unit that can convoy it is our fleet in the North Sea. Our fleet in the North Sea is also our only unit that can support hold Norway. There was an
Yeah.
army built in St. Petersburg, not in Warsaw, not in Moscow, in St. Petersburg. I have a feeling that Russia is going to try to take Norway from us.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
can't, we must use North Sea to stop that. And it might not even work. But
that is a pretty huge problem here. And actually, it makes me feel a little bit better about this Sweden convoy in the first place, because imagine if you support St. Petersburg into Norway here, right? You go to Germany, hey, look, I'm attacking England, I'm your friend here. But of course, you've still got Bothnia there, so at the same time as you support yourself into Norway, you go ahead and move that into Baltic and prepare to attack Germany. Maybe not so good because England can retreat into Finland and then cause you problems up there. But I think there's a reasonable excuse of saying, hey, England, I want to take Norway. I'm not coming any further because I put down an army and it can't get any further, right? So then I'll pivot against Germany and we can be friends. And in
so
that case,
I
three
kind of
units here is
agree.
quite nice.
But the reason why you why this doesn't really work is because Germany should look at this as anti-German and should attack you.
Yes.
Or even if they don't actually full on attack you, even if they don't go into Prussia, right? They should be tapping Sweden. They should look at England and say, hey, I don't want Russia to kick you out of Norway. I'm next. So we can work together here because you being alive keeps me alive. I'll tap Sweden so you don't have to support hold Norway. Get yourself into Skagerrak, get yourself into whatever, figure your own stuff out. But like, I'm tapping Sweden here. We need to work together on Sweden. Good luck.
Yeah.
And that's what this does. If you take Sweden with the fleet, then you don't have to worry about. Germany is less worried because that fleet in Sweden can do other things, and one fleet is less of a threat. I can keep a fleet in Denmark and we can be balanced, whereas now I need to have more units to handle the support. Plus, I'm happy to support them in the Norway and stuff. So I think Germany is not. I don't think this is going to work.
Yeah, like this is something I want to talk about, right? The fact that we're looking at this game from the perspective of people who are very experienced with the game and with playing the game in a tournament setting. We all play with the assumptions that people who play in that tournament setting have, right? So stuff like England in English Channel is aggressive to France, so France doesn't let that happen. Here, that's been totally fine. England's moved into the English Channel. They seem to be friendly with France still. It completely breaks our idea of the game because we wouldn't expect that, right? But because they're working in a different meta to what we usually work in, it's a bit different to what we'd expect. And I feel like that might be the same with the Sweden convoy if they've gotten into a habit of, hey, Russia's natural opening move is a convoy to Sweden. Maybe Germany doesn't usually see that as aggressive, and in that case, it's really good, right? It works really well.
Who
But
attacks Germany? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so you kind of see why things tend to go in the direction of the tournament meta because Germany will be really hurt by this opening in the long term. They will just, Russia has a really good attack against them. But if you haven't reached that stage in your meta development yet, right? If you're at the stage where you said, okay, Russia generally convoys into Sweden, that's a normal thing, I'm not going to bother reacting to it, then this ends up being really good for Russia, and therefore Russia does it more often. So it's just kind of awesome to see these kind of moves that we wouldn't usually see in our standard commentaries, right? And just think about
Yeah.
the different reasons why they might happen or why they might have different reactions to usual. I am saying that I am realizing we have been on Winter 1901 for a very long time now. Are there any other builds you want to discuss, or shall we move along?
Let's go next.
Okay, so Spring 1902. Assuming
Uh-oh.
my game loads. There we go.
Uh-oh, England. Uh-oh.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
let me just check my notes here because this might be a turn where the person who was writing it down didn't get all of the orders. No, these were all the actual orders for this turn. Okay, so a lot of halts is the thing. Yeah. So England trying to get that army Edinburgh off the British mainland, right? You absolutely want to try to do that, but God, it's so difficult, and you lose Norway at the same time. Uh,
Difficulty lose Norway at the same time. This screams like England talked to Russia and they were like, hey, can you please support me into Denmark? And then Russia said, absolutely, I'd love to do that if you're convoying into Denmark. And then England said, yes, absolutely. And then Russia looked at their moves and said, look at this. I can just force Norway now because they can't defend it. Cool. Um,
yeah.
and then if I'm reading this correctly, Russia moved from Sweden into Norway while Bothnia support held Sweden.
No, so Bothnia, it looks like Bothnia submitted a support move for Sweden to Norway. So this is quite often
Oh.
something that trips up players who are newer to diplomacy, is thinking that you can support a move if you're adjacent to the province that's doing the moving. That's not the case. You have to be adjacent to the province that is being moved into. So Bothnia's support here is completely invalid. It does still work fine because St. Petersburg also issued the support here, so it's 2 versus 1.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, and so tactically here, I would have tried to force this disband if you had told me what moves were being written. Um, I would have
Yeah.
covered Finland
Bothnia to Finland, really? That
most of
feels
the
like
time.
it takes you out of like the realm of being able to do useful things with your fleet, though, right? I guess you then
Take a
move it
minute,
to
yeah.
Sweden
But
next
you know what
turn.
I think is more useful with my fleet? If I could trade Bothnia for Finland right now, right, delete both of those units, I would.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think that unit is probably coming off in the fall anyway, as long as you manage to stop it taking anything, right?
Yeah.
Because
So
England
what?
doesn't
I'm gonna move it
have.
into Sweden this turn? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason Finland is super annoying, right? Because you have to defend Sweden, you have to defend Norway as well. You kind of have to hope that Germany and England don't work together, which seems likely here. Um,
I agree. Hoggle and Bite's pretty committal.
yeah, I mean that seems very likely.
Also, Brest supporting Portugal to mid-Atlantic Ocean. I expect we're gonna see English Channel get forced.
Yes. So this is not looking good for England right now. Which actually, the army build ends up being very useful if they end up being attacked by everyone, because that's something you can defend your homeland with quite effectively, more effectively than a fleet. Um,
Once you've lost control of the
once,
seas around you, then an army is more useful. Notably, a fleet helps delay how long it takes for you to lose all of the seas around you. Um, and it might make you less appealing for Germany if you say have a fleet in Norwegian and tell Germany, look, I'm going to be support holding the North Sea and you can't take it from me. You should attack France instead because he's going to get centers. And then Germany looks at you and says, all right, fair point. But if Germany's like, hey, I'm going to take the North Sea off of you and then I'm going to convoy whatever I want, wherever I want. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
that is a problem. The like so obviously there's a massive upside to having a fleet here being able to support hold the North Sea, and therefore Germany they aren't able to attack you. Usually, the threat with France, Germany, Russia all attacking England at the same time is that it's very easy for Germany and Russia to get 3 fleets on North Sea at the start, right? Because this fleet is usually in Sweden, it then moves to Norway with support, and then they have enough to overwhelm you. Here, England would be able to hold North Sea because Russia has taken Norway with an army instead. If they had a fleet here, there would also be the problem of France moving into something like North Atlantic Ocean and Mid Atlantic Ocean at the same time, threatening that convoy to Liverpool. And if you haven't pulled English Channel back to Wales or moved Edinburgh to Clyde, both of which are really painful moves to do because those places aren't very useful to be except for blocking this French attack. Then you're in trouble. So an army is useful in that respect. But yeah, here I think it's reasonable to say the fleet would have been better for convincing Germany to go somewhere else. um, yeah. I'm just looking at the rest of the moves now and thinking, is there anything else we want to... Well, there's quite a bit else to discuss here. I guess here is another support. Berlin support Munich to Tyrolia. That is invalid because Berlin is not adjacent to Tyrolia. That's the same problem we talked about up here. Right.
yep.
And then a whole lot of nothing in the south except for Galicia getting into Vienna. Which is
Yeah.
something.
You think these guys know about self-bouncing?
Probably not, I'd assume. So certainly not. This is this is Austria's first game, so certainly not. But this would have been a nice place to issue a self bounce. Except then you wouldn't have been able to support Serbia, right? So a self bounce for the record here is when you issue a move order with 2 units into the same province. So here it would be Bohemia moved to Vienna and Budapest moved to Vienna, and it protects 3 provinces between it, right? Against strength 1. Because if Galicia goes to Vienna, they get bounced out by the bounce. If they go to Budapest, they get bounced out by the unit bouncing back. And if they go to Bohemia, it's the same. So that is like a tactic that's pretty common in tournament diplomacy, but it's not immediately obvious when you start playing the game. But here it wouldn't have been great because you wouldn't have been able to support Hold Serbia. Not that they support Hold Serbia anyway.
And not that Serbia needs to be support held, because there's only one army adjacent. The fleet in Romania cannot threaten Serbia.
There are 2 armies. Greece is an army as well.
Oh, Greece! Greece is an army! That's right, I am a fool. Nope, this was good. Yeah, there was reason to support Hold Serbia. Budapest didn't support Hold Serbia, Budapest held.
No, Budapest held. Yeah, Serbia support held Budapest, which is the one that you don't need to do because there's a fleet next to it, not an army.
Yeah.
Importantly here, actually, Albania to Greece is a super good defensive move if you're not support holding Serbia, because if Greece gets into... It means that the only successful attack against Serbia is if Greece is the mover, because otherwise exactly what happens here happened. You cut the support, and if Greece is the mover, there's nothing to backfill that, so you get into Greece behind them. Which leaves you in a bit of a problematic position if Turkey's moved to Aegean, which they didn't here, because you then have Turkish units in Bulgaria and Serbia and Aegean ready to push you back out of Greece again. But, you know, it's at least
they have to push out of Greece again. It takes a full extra turn, as opposed to if you don't make the move, then they just ignore you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. Another time that I was looking for the self-bounce, it didn't even occur to me to self-bounce this turn with Bohemia and Budapest, noticing that would have stopped Galicia here. But I'm looking at the tactics for this next turn. Italy could show that they are the best friend ever by self-bouncing in Trieste, whilst Austria retakes Vienna. And that way, Russia can't retreat into Trieste. The other way to do it, of course, would be to take Trieste yourself, because it's better for your ally to have it than your enemy.
Yeah.
I like that argument.
Yep, because Austria is going to need to support Bohemia back to Vienna on the next turn, but there's no point in doing that if you're not having something covering Trieste. And yeah, best case for Austria would be a self-bounce there for the Italian that would keep the Russian out without actually losing the center for the Austrian. But best case for the Italian is just taking it for themselves. So we'll see what happens there. Any other moves you want to talk about?
No moves, just I think that France is going to have a really good time this game.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain why?
They have no enemies. They're going to get to take English Channel / North Atlantic Ocean. They can go for convoy. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I think that holding with a bunch of armies for most countries is not really good, right? If most countries don't do anything with half of their units, defensively or offensively, that's going to run them into trouble. It doesn't run France into trouble a lot of the time. And so, in a game where everyone's going AFK, I think it's going to benefit France.
Yeah. Well, so, before we move to the next turn, I do want to ask this of you. As France, do you think you would ever stab everyone at once in this situation?
Uh-oh.
Okay,
no.
Let's
no,
go ahead to
I
the
really
full
wouldn't do that.
turn.
Shall we see the moves?
Yep. Right, so this is an amazing
He doesn't
part
stab
of the
everyone.
video. Okay, so it's not... He doesn't stab Italy. What I'm saying is, look at the moves here. France
Yeah, he's
pushes
taking an English
into
channel.
English Channel, but at the same time tries to support the English convoy into Holland, right? And as a
Yeah.
result of attacking the English Channel, make sure that Germany can take North Sea, which then stops his attack across the North Sea from succeeding.
Yeah. No, this is just good diplomacy play. Honest to God. That's really good. Because now you can talk to both of them as if you're their friend. Right? You
So,
tell Germany, look, dude, I cut his support. I knew you were taking the North Sea. He was never gonna get the convoy to work. I just tossed him the support for appearances. And then you told France, oh my god, I had no idea that he was attacking the North Sea. I'm really sorry. I'm happy to work with you against him. I took English Channel because it was scary, but like, it's totally fine. I'm not gonna really go to war with you. I just wanted this for defensive purposes. And then you're everyone's friend.
okay,
You've annoyed both of them a little bit, but neither one of them have you pissed off enough that they can attack you because you haven't taken any of their centers, and you haven't even let anyone else take any of their centers. So,
so I agree with you in a sense. Yeah, I think that's a really good diplomatic line. You can say to both of them, hey, I was just doing this for appearance's sake against the other one, right? Well, sorry, against them. And I'm actually attacking the other one. But I also think that your opinion on this is a big difference between me having watched the video and you having not watched the video, in that these players are not going to do that. Right? I mean,
I
it would be a
mean,
bit difficult to pull off any case, right? Because you would have need to tell whichever one you're planning to ally with about the thing in advance, ideally, so that you could then say, you know, hey, I tipped you off about it. Because if you haven't, if you like issued Belgium support Edinburgh to Holland without coordinating with Germany that they were taking the North Sea, then it looks a lot more aggressive, right? You can't really play that
does.
off as, hey, I knew you were going to take North Sea, so it's fine.
Okay, but also we all knew he was going to take the North Sea.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Like, I see where you're coming from, and this is something that I've seen a lot with beginners, is moves that to me don't feel even a little bit aggressive to them come off as aggressive. This move is more than a little bit aggressive. This is a move that I would understand someone being pissed off by, which is why I already have the explanation as to why it's not a problem ready at hand. Um, but what is actually aggressive and what isn't? A random rogue army running around, like if let's say Austria loses Vienna to Russia or something and then retreats to Bohemia, or Italy walks their rogue army from Venice to Tyrolia to Bohemia to Silesia. And then Germany is all like, oh my God, I can't believe you're attacking me with this army in Silesia. And then Italy's like, dude, I'm working with Austria against Russia here. I'm not attacking you. Right? If I was attacking you, like, one army's not going to do anything. What's the point of this stuff? Um, and so, like, hey, if I'm throwing in a support that's never going to be relevant, like, if I'm Germany here, I don't think this is anti-me at all, really. Like, he took the English Channel with his fleet. That's a much bigger deal than him throwing a support for a unit that's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that is true. As England, I would definitely view this as more aggressive towards me as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Alternatively, it's a way to hedge your bets. It's a way to basically tell Germany, look, if you're not going to attack England, you're going to get punished for it. It's my way of forcing you to be anti-England.
this is
That's
true,
so
right?
funny
Yeah,
because
because
you can tell Germany, like, you got to support Old Holland or just dislodge him.
because
That's great.
there was the possibility of maybe Germany doing something funky with supporting the English army into Sweden or similar, right? Here it wouldn't have worked because Russia entered the perfect moves here for
Yeah.
keeping everything, but that was a possibility, and if Germany had done that, they would have lost Holland.
Yeah.
So
Well, unless
yeah,
they support Held Holland, but
yeah,
either way.
it does keep Germany honest with you, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like, have you been in those positions when there's just an army in Belgium and an army in Holland between both France and Germany? And then you see one of them just randomly order a move into the other center with the army expected to hold and sit there, right? That's not an aggressive move. That's not an attack against the other. That's merely a tap. It's saying, hey, I don't want your army moving anywhere. I'm worried about there being some convoy or something crazy going on. But if it's not part of a larger attack, it's super peaceful. Like Trieste and Venice just tapping each other, right? To make sure that nothing crazy happens in 01. Like those moves have people have assumed I was being aggressive or attacking them when they're just aggressively defending. Like
Yes. It it should be noted, if you're gonna do that, you should tell the other person, hey, I'm gonna do this just to be sure, because like otherwise it can look a little bit aggressive, especially with if you're sitting in Belgium and Germany is sitting in Holland and you tap Holland. If you haven't told Germany that you're gonna do that, there was always the possibility Germany moved out just as a like, I'm gonna use this army somewhere else, and then they would have been backstabbed by you, essentially, right? So it works as long as you tell the other person that you're doing it, or you
be
have a very
careful
solid
doing this in
agreement.
the fall. And if you do it in the fall without telling them, it might get grumpy and they might dot you. That's true.
I mean, even in the
Um,
spring, I think they could get grumpy about it if you end up in Holland when they weren't expecting you to, right?
yeah, but then
Um,
you can always walk out, and then if they're your friend, it'll be okay. But it's a thing where you can't always tell them about it. If you always tell, right, the use of this, right, there are tons of situations where you're in a France-German alliance and you're coordinating against England. Germany's taken the North Sea and they have like an army in Holland and like you've taken London and you're like positioning to take Liverpool. And for whatever reason, Germany doesn't have an army in Denmark or anything else. And you've talked to them and they're not going to be convoying an army onto the British mainland, right? But Germany might stab you here. And this might be a turn that Germany is planning on convoying, and they might convoy straight to London, and which is your center. They might not even be convoying to attack England. In a situation like this, if you tell them what you're doing, if they have a unit in Kiel or Helgoland or something, they might cover Holland, a move that they might not otherwise make. And so if you always tell them when you're going to be making the tap, they will then know if you don't tell them you're not going to tap them. So sometimes you have to do it without telling them. And then,
yeah, I think this is a big difference in like communication style. I do this too. I do absolutely do stuff like that without telling my ally, right? But
yeah,
most of the time, it's in a situation where it wouldn't cause any harm to them if they did do the thing. It would just mess up their attack on me, right? Um,
yeah,
uh, yeah. I think really the key is just to have good communication with someone in the first place.
yeah. And
Um,
if you have good communication with someone and you do something like this out of the blue where you've talked 20 messages back and forth this phase, they're gonna be grumpy with you. And rightfully so, because that's a different relationship. A lot of times I don't have that level of communication. We have fast phases, right? We only have 5 minutes to talk to people, right? I can't talk about everything. Um, so
yeah. I I do realize this is talking a whole lot about something that hasn't happened here. So
yeah,
maybe we should move back to the moves that are actually on the board.
yeah, real games. Yeah, yeah, real games, fine.
Especially in the south, because we haven't covered the south, right?
We haven't
Um,
looked at anything though.
so we have this south bounce that could have happened in Trieste. Instead, Italy supports Albania back up to Trieste, which is also a friendly Italy thing. It means that Russia can't retreat into Trieste or get into Trieste in the first place. But it's actually not great for Austria because it takes their fleet off the front line against Turkey, and suddenly now Turkey has taken Serbia, right? And they took it from Greece, so Greece is open, but Austria can't push that line very effectively. So that ends up being kind of painful. Although I guess it does, they do get the retreat into Albania with the Serbia army. So actually, maybe it ends up being equivalent. But Albania could have been doing more useful stuff, right? It could have been supporting Turanian into Ionian, and you would really want it to do that rather than going back to somewhere where it's pretty useless now.
Yeah. Here, if Italy was gonna work with Austria 100% here, um, I think you would have had Tyrolia support Bohemia into Vienna. You have Budapest support hold Serbia, and then you have Venice and Albania self-bounce in Trieste. And then you don't lose anything.
Yeah. This has made me just realize I saw the Italian tap on Munich, right? That's a very hopeful move, and obviously, as Italy, you're looking for your fifth dot. It's nice to just try and get something. But it did remind me, we saw this initial move that took two moves in getting units to Tyrolia and Bohemia to go against Germany, and then no follow up, right? In the spring of the last turn, they didn't go for Munich. This turn, we've got one unit going for Munich. But it kind of shows why this was a bad attack, because it's really difficult to actually push across Munich. And it takes a lot of commitment here. So I don't fault them for going back at all. I think that's the correct play here. You aren't going to get Munich. But it does show why you shouldn't have gone north in the first place.
Yeah, and usually taking Munich is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but like holding Munich is impossible from the south. It never works. So,
Yep. You have to commit so many armies to going north just to support hold it that someone will then walk into your centers behind you.
yeah, and it's this frustrating part where all of the other centers around Munich are provinces that have coasts that are always occupied. English Channel, North Sea are always filled. So trying to take Belgium and Holland is such a challenge. Taking Berlin's the easiest one to take, for sure, but Baltic Sea there's usually a fleet there too. Like, you can't actually hold any of these dots with just armies. It's so expensive.
You
Don't
can
at
in the
me, I know
late
there's a
game,
stalemate
right?
line, but
Which is it's why they appear in the stalemate line from the south sometimes. Or in a winning combination from the south. You can just about hold them if you commit armies everywhere here, but you can only afford to do that in the
don't
late
at me,
game.
but
Yeah,
it can't. It's the last centers you take, and they're at the end of the line. Once you've already got your 20 units and you're just sitting there throwing everything. Yes, I understand you can technically hold them, but like you can't hold them in the early game.
yes. Which is you do still sometimes see Italy sniping Munich early in like tournament games.
Yeah.
But it's because Italy wants to build another unit here and thinks they can get away with it, right? It's a temporary thing. They're not going to be able to
Plus,
keep it.
Munich is super flexible. When they dislodge you from Munich, you can retreat either into the west or into the east often. Or you can be proactive about it and you can coordinate with one of the others. Like you can tell Germany, hey, I know I took Munich from you, but I'm building an extra fleet in Rome that I wouldn't have otherwise. That unit's going west. I'm gonna go into Burgundy. Can you support me there for Mur? Gets you out of your home dot so you can retake it. Plus, it gets me a potent attack, because how else is Italy going to break Marseille, for example? Or you use it to retreat into Silesia, and then you've built an extra unit and you still work out. So they snipe it, but it's not like a committed, I am going to go to war and take this and kill Germany type stuff,
Yeah.
which is taking Munich by force.
Yeah. So other things to talk about here. The Russian moves in the south are pretty. Oh, this is. Oh, wait. This is one of the turns that I got a note for from the person who made the sandbox. Hang on.
Yeah.
Is this the one of the turns? God, I'm missing here. 1902. No, okay, it's the next turn. Never mind. So I will talk about this in a sec, but on the next turn, in fact, I'll talk about it now. They order Sevastopol to Romania and Romania to Sevastopol, and swap those two units around on adjudication, which you can't do without a convoy. One of these two would have to go. Well, it would have to be Sevastopol because that's the army. Would have to be convoyed by Black Sea in order to swap those two units. But it gets misadjudicated. But I think that's in spring, so we'll look at it then.
Okay. They go for a swap.
So this
All
is
right.
what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to get an army into Romania so that they can work with the Turks. But
Oh no.
yeah, in
I was so proud of Russia for the strategic sense to realize by putting my fleet in Romania, I cannot attack Austria, and therefore I will be attacking Turkey, which I must do because Turkey is so strong and so big. And oh no, I've
yeah.
made this mistake 100 times. I always forget that this stupid fleet in Romania can't do anything useful.
Yeah, I mean, I just get around this by never going to Romania with the fleet,
Yep,
which just
yeah,
bounce in
no,
Black
it
Sea
works.
forever. It always works. You don't need builds in Sevastopol. You can build Army Moscow. Army Moscow is the best unit. Just
Yeah,
always build Army
honestly,
Moscow.
if you just say my fleet Sevastopol can only ever move to the Black Sea, you're gonna be okay.
Yep.
Dude, I see bots do this when just fleet Sevastopol and fleet Ankara both bounce in the Black Sea for literally 10 years straight.
Yep. I mean,
Um,
yeah, this is labeling myself as a bot. I do that.
yeah, I
I've,
mean,
I've absolutely done that before. I don't want to let Turkey get the power over me that them getting into Black Sea gives me, and I also gives them. And I also don't want to build a fleet because that's committing too much to one specific direction. So the way you get around both of those is just to bounce in Black Sea forever. There is no reason to ever do anything else.
yeah, why do you need to support hold Romania or support yourself into Romania? Unnecessary. I
No,
love it.
okay. So the
Builds.
no. The reason that you don't need to support whole Romania is if you end up in an RT versus AI, right, which is usually the situation where you need to support whole Romania. Then you say to Turkey, "Oh, hey, we're in an RT versus AI situation. You need to move that fleet out, and I need to support Romania with more stuff. So I'll go into Black Sea and just sit here and be friendly with you by supporting my own unit, and you can slip that fleet out and stop bouncing me in Black Sea, and then you have all the power as Russia, right? Because you can convoy an army into Ankara whenever you want at that point.
Uh-huh.
It does actually work. I know it sounds ridiculous. It does work. Try that out sometime.
That's great. I'm glad. I will try that out sometime. But no, I'm not gonna try it out. I'm just gonna move it into the Black Sea and say, hey, you can't stop me because they're trying to Lepanto you, so keep
Well,
yourself alive.
that's
Good luck.
essentially what it is, right? It's just from a being nicer perspective. You're saying, hey, I think the best plan is for us to do this because you need your fleet out and I need an extra support on Romania. So the best configuration is me moving my fleet to Black Sea and you moving your fleet to Constantinople. Sorry, my my mouth is not saying what I wanted to say. So then you get in the position where you have all the power. But again, this is talking about stuff that isn't happening on the board, so we should probably stop going off on that. Well, I mean, going off on tangents is part of Diplo strats, right? But we should move along.
Ezio and Captain Meme spend 2 hours talking about other diplomacy games that they have played while staring at the Valefisk video. What a good title.
I'm sure that's why people are here, right? Um,
Let's look at builds,
yeah.
eh?
Okay. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to look at, but I forgot. Okay, the Tyrrhenian Sea move getting bounced out of Ionian by Eastern Med. Really, you want to have had the fleet in Aegean in the first place to be a bit more useful around Greece, and Greece is still threatened here for the Turk, but they do actually still have a pretty strong defensive line, even with this Italian unit in Aegean Sea now, right? Because they just have so many units and so little surface area. This is the problem with attacking Turkey. You really need multiple angles or to do it early enough that they don't have all these units. But yeah, we can move ahead to Winter '02.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Army Finland off, Army Albania off. I completely missed that the fleet retreated to Skagerrak, the English fleet, which is not something you see all that often when an England is put onto the defensive.
Yeah, this is our manly move.
It's a really
Brave.
yes. It's a,
Brave diff.
the problem with it, right, is that it can get blown up so easily there. Yeah, it threatens 3 enemy centers, and I guess the retreat makes sense while you have the army Finland there, because it's so useful in conjunction with that. It can attack Norway together, it can attack Sweden together, but if you're taking one of the two of them off, then Skagerrak just becomes cannon fodder. But it's annoying cannon fodder, so it does still serve a purpose.
And if Russia chooses to go for a stab on Germany, hey, maybe you can induce that.
As in, you try and get them to support Skagerrak into Denmark?
Well, I would offer to convoy Norway into Denmark.
Oh,
and
that's true.
then they move Sweden to Baltic, whilst moving into Silesia.
You really don't think Germany would just cover Denmark in this position? I think they would, right?
No, I think Russia, like, why would Russia work with England here?
Well, no, but England's fleet in Skagerrak is still a threat by itself, right? You do need to cover Denmark just to stop it going in.
Not when I'm talking to Russia, it isn't. They're still going for the North Sea, man.
I see.
Anything I can, like, as England here, I had to spin whatever I can possibly say to Russia to get them off my side. That's what I sell. I offer to convoy Norway into Denmark, and then I spin the move into Baltic, to move into Silesia, and hope that they go crazy. Oh, they could be in Silesia and Prussia. Dude, Russia actually has a 6 stab on Germany here.
This is true. I don't know that I'd take that. I think, as England, I might point out they could go to Prussia and Silesia and then ask for support into Denmark. I don't think Russia would take the convoy over to Denmark and move into the Baltic at the same time. It just feels like it's not going to work. At least to me, this move is always going to get bounced, right? The Norway to Denmark.
They could just support themselves into Denmark then.
Yeah, so with support, I'd probably take it. So that would be a good thing for England to propose. But also, it doesn't really help England's situation, right? Outside of... Okay, no, it massively helps England's situation by getting Germany off their back. It doesn't help this fleet in Skagerrak do anything else, so you're kind of committing to this fleet in Skagerrak has to get this to work.
Yeah, or we can try to tap the North Sea, but obviously we don't think that's going to do very much. And to your point, I don't think it really saves England's situation, because I think France is still just going to kill England. Your one army in Eddie can't actually keep you alive forever. But if you can show France that they're not going to get anything this 1 year, and then Germany is collapsing in the east, maybe France will stab Germany. Which, notably, France is well positioned to do. With Belgium to Ruhr, Picardy to Belgium, and Marseille to Burgundy, you can take Munich, especially if you know that Russia is going to go for Berlin.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I can see that.
Man, these Central Powers are so hard.
Yeah, it is like... I mean, even at a high level, Austria is still the weakest power in diplomacy, right? And Italy is still the second weakest. I think Germany improves its power level a fair bit. And Italy gets a huge boost because if they're played really, really well, they are actually in one of the best positions on the board. But you have to play it, like, really, really well for that to come into effect. So these powers are still pretty bad even at a high level of play. When you're just coming in, it's why if I play diplomacy with a new player, I will usually like rig the draw to give them Turkey or England, because those are the powers you want a new player to play, or France. But yeah, these powers are just so difficult.
Yeah. All right, let's go to C moves.
Wait. It's Winter 02. We got to do power rankings. Right now, the power rankings are in alphabetical order. We're not
All
keeping
right,
them.
great.
I completely forgot to mention this as well. One of the power rankings, the Turkish power has 2 names, Teddy and Sol. If you've seen the Valefisk video, this will make sense. Teddy was playing this through a hurricane that was happening. And basically lost internet half the time and quite often had to negotiate off of a screenshot that someone had sent him without seeing the actual game board, right? So he has his assistant who was playing in his place for some of these phases while he was losing internet to the hurricane. It's a thing that you'll see in the original video. It doesn't come into play when we're analysing the moves here, but again, highly recommend watching that. So that is why there's two powers there, two players. So, power rankings. Ezio, who is at the top?
Turkey.
Yep. Who is second from the top?
Russia.
Russia? Not France?
Yep.
I guess, yeah, having such a stronghold over Norway, and just Scandinavia in general is pretty solid. I would... Just the fact that Turkey is so strong, I would maybe put them lower, but actually with an Italian fleet in Aegean, maybe that's not something you would immediately need to worry about. So...
Yeah, I think that Russia has a really strong attack on Germany or Austria, their choice. I would go after Germany here because I think Italy is going to be propping up Austria, which is going to slow down Turkey tremendously. Whereas I can grow against Germany here and be really big.
Yep, fair enough. So number 3 is France, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think these three at the top are all very close.
Yes, I would agree with that. Although I'd say maybe the gap between Turkey and Russia is bigger than the gap between Russia and France, but like they are all
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. They're all very
they are very
very
close.
easily winnable from all of these positions. They're all doing quite well.
I think if Turkey had a unit in Greece instead of the Eastern Mediterranean or Constantinople, it would be like much further above the other powers. Right now,
Yep.
that area is just very vulnerable.
It's gonna take a turn. Like you're gonna get yourself
Okay,
into a
when I
jam
say very
from Smyrna.
vulnerable, I don't mean very vulnerable. I mean like vulnerable enough to make them less powerful than if they'd have had it there.
Yeah, they're gonna have to spend about a year getting themselves into position on Ionian. Um,
Yep.
and that is annoying. That's not where you want to be. And it might take longer. I say a year because I'm looking at like being really quick about my maneuvering. But I might not. Like it might take longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think those are the ones at the top, and those guys are very clearly at the top. Everyone else I expect to be eliminated. Um, I think I expect Germany to do the best out of these, despite being the most exposed. They might not die to Russia here, and if they don't die to Russia, then I think they might gain against England. They have enough fleets they can contest Russia on the north. Like Germany's got upside here, just usually exposed. And then Italy and Austria are just going to die. And I think Austria is going to die first.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about England?
Oh, last.
Yeah, I think I would put. Well, yeah, no, I would put England last. That is true. They're just so vulnerable here.
Yep, they have
It's
no
painful.
allies.
I feel
They're
like
exposed. Can't grow anywhere. They're dead.
Italy is a fair bit better than Austria here, just because they've got Austria as a buffer, right, against everyone else, and France is focused on the north. But I do agree with you. I think Italy dies long term in from this position. It's really
Yep.
tough to push anything and get that crucial fifth center unless you take it off of Austria, in which case it's temporary because the other powers push in even quicker than.
Yep.
Um,
You need to get Russia or Turkey to attack each other. And that might happen if one of them grows too quickly. Like if Russia grows in the north, then Turkey might stab, and if Turkey takes all of Austria, then maybe Russia will stab. So here, I would paradoxically support Turkey into Austria, but that's weird nonsense.
I think Italy's chances would have gone up a lot if Austria had disbanded Trieste instead of Albania here. Um,
Yep.
Actually, would it? I think it would because Trieste is just so horrible for doing anything here that isn't just sitting in Trieste, except for making a last-minute rush out to try and take Tunis or Naples to survive, which obviously you don't want to see as Italy. But yeah, an army there would have been much more effective at holding Turkey-Russia back. Yeah, so that is our power rankings. Shall we go ahead to spring?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, spring 1903. So this is where I mentioned the misadjudication happens. Sevastopol and Romania, because Backstabber adjudicates things based on, you know, it adjudicates things correctly. It's gonna say they don't succeed, but on the next turn you'll see them swapped because of the edited sandbox. Is there anything that immediately grabs your attention here?
I'm looking at this German position, and I'm being pretty sad for Germany. Yep.
Which part of it?
Oh, I mean, mostly in general. Um, but the French stab is why I'm so sad about the German position. But it also does appear that Russia is making moves against Germany. Not super committed, but 3 northern units is still pretty anti-German, yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly not as bad as if Russia had gone into Prussia and Silesia at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Here. Interestingly... Oh, no, never mind. I was looking at this and saying, oh, Germany might have a retreat into Norway, but of course they don't, because St. Petersburg came out to Norway to block that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Russia, I think it's correct that Russia didn't go all in here because clearly they're still being attacked by Austria, right? Austria is trying to get into Galicia, and leaving that open might have been a problem, leaving this whole area. Although maybe you just go all in on Germany anyway and hope that Turkey kills Austria so quickly that their unit here doesn't matter.
But also diplomatically, I think here you actually have a chance to tell Austria, hey, I'm not attacking you anymore. I'm going to be going all in against Germany. You're going to need all of your units in the south to stay alive. Go defend against Turkey. I need you to slow him down whilst I go elsewhere. I might even be able to support you with stuff. And then I don't think Austria makes these moves.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. As is, I think it's fairly evident that Russia. Well, no, I'm saying the attempted swap between Sevastopol and Romania is meant to be anti-Austrian here, right?
Yeah.
I think it does still signal as anti-Austrian, but like it's not so anti-Austrian that you can't talk them out of doing stuff like this.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, if I'm in Romania, I can even support hold you in Budapest. Like,
That is true.
I can tap Serbia. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. This does bring attention to the other thing that's happening in the south, which is Italy pivoting every unit back to the west as Turkey runs all their units out, completely ignoring Greece. But I think that's a fair thing to do in terms of completely ignoring Greece, because if you were taking that, it was very much temporary. You were about to be kicked out anyway. What I'm more concerned about here is that now Turkey has access to the Ionian if they want it. They've got 2 on it to Italy's 1.
Yep. Yep. And when Italy loses control of the Ionian, Italy usually loses the game. So.
Yep. Which is, again, one of those reasons why it's so hard to find the 5th dot as Italy, right? Because if you move your fleets off to Lyon to try and take it off of France, you're often leaving Ionian potentially open to a Turkish invasion. And that is going to happen here. Usually it's a little bit slower than that. Usually Turkey isn't already in position to take Ionian. But yeah, this is a problem. Although I could see this being the right play if you've decided, oh, Turkey is going to do super well this game, I want to run back to the stalemate line and get a position I can survive in. Although it's still going to be super hard to push into this front with 2 units. Maybe you were assuming Spain got convoyed up to Wales or something. But yeah. Does that cover everything in the east?
Yeah.
So then the west, I mean, we already kind of covered that, right? France stabbing.
France is stabbing Germany.
Yeah, and I think it's a stab that's a pretty good one, because if you keep going into England here, you're going to be blocked out a bit by that English unit in Edinburgh. Good call from England to just hold the army in Edinburgh, by the way. It would have stopped this this Holland invasion, if it did happen. Oh, I don't like the retreat. I don't like the German retreat into Holland. Sorry, into Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. I agree. I would have much rather seen that in Helgoland.
Yes. Or even if you do want to go hyper-aggressive against the English, you retreat it into Norwegian and then harass them from that area. Because here it's just very easy for it to get trapped completely and be a useless unit.
Yeah, fleets in Yorkshire do not last long, usually. Hostile fleets in Yorkshire, I should say. Yeah, I really hate this stab by France.
Really?
I really, really hate it. I don't think you're gonna get as much as you want from Germany. And if it looks like you are going to crush Germany, I expect England is then going to mess with you. So I don't think you have potential. Although I do like supporting London out to the North Sea. I think that's really good, right? If you'd supported Skagerrak in the North Sea, that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I like not moving Mid-Atlantic Ocean anywhere. I like it holding here. I would have rather seen it support hold English Channel. But that's fine.
That's just the general tenet of if you're holding, you can probably be supporting something random to be a little bit more helpful instead.
Yeah, and like, what if theoretically Germany made the same deal with France, right, and supported London into the English Channel? Like,
with England, yeah.
yeah, London, England, yeah.
Yes. No, absolutely. I
But
don't know.
yeah,
I
totally
think
fine.
the stab could be effective. The biggest downside to it is that Russia stabbing at the same time means that Russia is going to gain more, right, than you are. Is that true? Because with this, as you said, supporting London out is a good move here because it puts the English targeting Scandinavia. That is where their forces are. That is where they're able to convoy out to or to supported attack on. And that then puts the Russian centers under threat, so it slows down Russia a bit. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see whether it works out for them. Shall we move ahead to fall?
Let's do it.
Alright, fall 1903. So actually the Russian is supporting the English player into Denmark, which I think is a really good play on the Russian part. You get that out of the way and suddenly it's not poised to attack Norway anymore. Yeah. I'm trying to see what to look at first here. I guess this is an interesting situation, right? Supporting London back into... Sorry, North Sea back into London. I don't think you wanted to do that, really.
Not as France. No, I say, dude, I got you in North Sea for a reason. You got to use that fleet.
Yes.
Get into Helgoland or something, but no.
And, like, you then... Really, what you want to do here is offer to bounce England in London if they're panicking about London, which they probably will be because there's a German fleet in Yorkshire. And then here, they wouldn't have lost North Sea. They would have just stayed in North Sea. But now the German is in North Sea again, which makes your attack considerably worse. Oh, especially considering France backs off of Ruhr and back into Burgundy, presumably panicking because of this Italian attack, right? but you
Well,
don't want to
also,
do this.
you can't. Belgium and Ruhr can't do anything on their own.
That is, well, it depends. If you can get the Russian to tap Kiel, then it's something. If you coordinate with the Russian, maybe over
Yeah, that's
Munich, then
true.
it's something. If you can coordinate with England over moving North Sea into Holland or something, you say, hey, I'm going to support you here and cut Kiel, and then I'll cover London, and if I take London, it'll be okay because you'll get the centre in Holland to replace it. So it can do some stuff, but yeah, I guess it was going to get knocked out anyway, kind of, and you don't have the unit to... Well, you could have held that, but you don't have the unit to come into Burgundy to reinforce it, is the big issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
And then, how did England get Russia to support them into Denmark?
That is a super interesting question, right? Well, no, I said it is quite good on the Russian part, I think, to do this, because it gets England out of that position where they could attack you from. But it is also... like, you could have taken that center yourself if you really wanted to. But no, I think I like this Russian move. I like supporting Skagerrak out, because then you can easily just kick England out on the next year if you want to, right? And they can't attack you in Norway in the meantime.
Yeah.
I am reading through my notes, by the way, and it says that this is the point at which Teddy, the Turkish player, disconnects properly from Tabletop Simulator and can't rejoin, and has to play through screenshots of the board from this point on, when he's able to connect to the voice chat.
Sure. Does it right when taking Romania?
Yeah.
That's an oof.
Seems so. So yeah, Turkey attacking Russia down here, but I think this is fine, right? Usually you don't want to make enemies with absolutely everyone, but here he's clearly not, because he's made a peace pact with the Italian player. Italy moving all the way out to the west, and Turkey not even following, just staying here.
Yeah, but like, why not follow?
It is a good question, because I think the reason might be if Italy says to you, hey, if you go to Ionian, I'm turning around, then you go, okay.
What's he gonna do to me?
Well, it's not so much what he's going to do to you and the fact that he's delaying France from being able to do anything, right? This is me being a balance of power player and saying I am going to have an impact
God.
on the far side of the board with my moves over here.
Look at this France. You think this France is a threat to win the game if I just like move into Ionian? You think France is gonna win that race? Oh, come on.
I mean, yeah, fair, but also it does make some sense, right? Although here, I don't know, being in Ionian, you could dismantle Italy very quickly from this position because they've got everything so far west, that maybe, I mean, it does just make sense.
You have your guaranteed convoy into Apulia if you want it, or you can just probably take Naples or Tunis, like...
Yeah, I don't know, like, I like to think the diplomatic options here make sense, right? What Turkey does made sense. It just is, from a purely tactical perspective, there is no reason not to just move in here.
I think Turkey's position is so strong that every move they make leads to them winning the game.
Right.
I agree with that. This is a move that Turkey could make. This move involves holding with 3 of their units. They're still gonna win. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is a good negotiation anyway. Getting Italy to move off this way means you don't have to cover Greece. The big thing is, once you've managed this negotiation, you can just move in behind them, because you have such a devastating attack. But I see why they didn't, right? It does make sense to keep people on side. You don't really, even if you can technically fight everyone at once because of your strength, it never feels good to do it. Right?
I disagree completely. Because if I know that I'm fighting everyone and I'm going to beat them anyways, then I just can make the best tactical moves and not have to worry about trying to be even more efficient by like coordinating with someone and then oops, they make a stab and suddenly I like lose the edge that I have over everything and it's all sad. Like, I understand the heuristic of not pissing off your neighbors and working with them being good, but I don't consider Italy a real neighbor anymore. Italy's got one unit that can mess with us, and once I take Ionian, Italy's a corpse. So, like, whatever. It
Yeah.
might be fine. It is probably rushing this Thammy line too early. It's probably gonna get the entire board to coalition against me, and Mid-Atlantic Ocean's probably gonna come south. It's probably fine, but also, like, I can be an Ionian in Fall 03. It's pretty good.
Okay, so two things here, right? First, one of those, oh yeah, they're probably in a coalition set up a stalemate line. In a tournament game, they absolutely would, right? If you go into this kind of position early on, you are not getting a win. You are not going to solo because these players will be ready for you by the time you get here. They've seen just how strong you're getting. And in that circumstance, it does actually make sense to keep something like Italy as a vassal, just to go and harass them earlier so they can't get into the position that they need to hold you back. Um, yeah, I said two things. I've completely
Yeah.
forgotten what the other one was, so we'll
Let's
just
go see the
stick with the
builds
one
then.
thing.
It's
Oh,
fine.
I remember what the other one was. A big key of your thing there is if I know I can beat them. And I think as a tournament level player, you would absolutely know that you can beat them at this point. But maybe in this circumstance, he wasn't as confident because it's not as obvious, I think, to people looking immediately at the board. Why is a Turkey who's on just seven centers at this point, right? Necessarily
Yeah.
that much stronger than everyone else. And, it's very obvious once you've played a lot of diplomacy that a Turkey in this position can steamroll. It's not obvious off the bat when you're just counting numbers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Shall we go ahead to Winter 1903?
Army Khan.
I guess you already have. Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, Army Constantinople. Um, Interesting. Like we say that Turkey can steamroll this position, I don't know that they can, right? Because there are a lot of armies in the east here. Galicia, Ukraine, both focused on Romania. Vienna and Budapest, if they manage to rotate Vienna down to Trieste and Trieste out to Adriatic or something, there is a decent line to hold them back. But maybe that's actually a reason, even more reason to go into Ionian, because that's your easy path of expansion right now. Um,
Yeah. Um, so I was assuming Sevastopol was going to be the next center that we would take from Russia here. Um,
yeah.
and so I wanted to build that army in Ankara or Smyrna, probably Ankara, to move it into Armenia. Then I would be using Black Sea. Ooh, the tactics here are very fun. Wow.
Go on, talk us through them.
So, we have a million options here. So, you can support Romania into Sevastopol, and against beginners, this is the move that I would make 100% of the time. Well, maybe not literal beginners, but against like beginner intermediate players, I will always support Romania into Sevastopol here. Um, because well, okay, assuming I'd built Army Ankara, Army Khan, it's like building Army Moscow. It doesn't really do anything quite yet. Bulgaria isn't a place where it does stuff. Like Bulgaria is a good place to be, but Armenia is great, and I don't see me making progress in the West. Right, my army in Albania is worthless right now. I want to get that. Like, it's not. I'm not going to take Trieste. It's just threatening Trieste, and it's not really threatening Trieste because even if I take Trieste, they can retake it. Right. I feel like when I'm threatening a center, I need to be able to hold the center for it to be a valid threat, especially in the spring. So I would want to support Romania into Sevastopol if I could then cover Armenia, which would disband the army in the fleet in Sevastopol, which is nice because another Southern disband. We're ecstatic about that. Um, as is it insane to convoy it into Armenia?
That
We
was
lose
what I
Romania.
was thinking immediately. When I saw Army Constantinople, I need to convoy that into Armenia, which is
But why not just build it
why
in
you
Ankara, man?
definitely
And then
build
I
it from
have the
one to
Black
the other
Sea.
two. Yeah. Um,
Ah,
the problem is just if you go to Bulgaria, you're stuck behind units.
dude, I
Yeah.
think I still support Romania into Sevastopol. I take Ankara and I move Serbia into Bulgaria and Albania into Serbia.
I mean, maybe the tactic here is actually support Romania into Sevastopol and move out to Bulgaria with the Constantinople army, right? I know that Albania isn't doing very much against Trieste, and that it is very tempting to. I think it's a good move to move it back to Serbia if you can, but with the army building Constantinople, that feels better than spending 2 turns moving Constantinople to Armenia.
Well, there's going to be a fleet in Armenia because that's where Sevastopol is retreating. We need something
That
to
is
cover
true,
Ankh.
but you've got Black Sea to cover Ankara, right?
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather use Black Sea to, like,
Do anything
do
else?
anything else?
Yeah, but I feel like it. It's like the lesser of all the evils, right? You Constantinople getting out into Romania is the best place for that unit to go right now. Um,
Okay, I also
so
think this army build is a highlight of how significant optimal tactics are.
yep.
Um, if this army is in Ankara, then I honest to God expect Turkey to actually just win the war against Russia and Austria, hands down. Um, with this army in Constantinople, I don't think so.
Yep.
No, I think it's the worst. But okay. So tactically, I'm 100% sold. I'm convinced I'm supposed to support Romania into Sevastopol and Khan to Ankara. Um, so yes, it feels bad to have it waste the move moving into Ankara, but we can still support ourselves into Armenia in the fall. We might disband the fleet, but tactically, once we're in Sevastopol with an army, we also have the option to go and take Moscow. And I think that they're going to be too petrified of that threat. And I think Ukraine is going to go cover Moscow. And so we can then retake, well, we can threaten to retake Armenia
Mm-hmm.
with our units.
Yeah. Something
Yep.
important to note is they can just counter what you're trying to do here by entering Ukraine's support Sevastopol
Yeah,
hold,
but
right? Which
that's
is.
not in, that is not a possible move. Nobody ever puts that order in.
I mean, okay, so yes,
Yeah, and then they
I
support
mean,
Sevastopol.
people
Sevastopol supports
absolutely
Galicia to
do.
Armenia.
People
Yeah,
absolutely do put that move in, right? But
so this is
usually,
what I was
if
talking
you're,
about. The
yeah,
higher level players will make this because beginner players are like, "Hey, we have four on Romania, right? Budapest, Galicia, Ukraine, Sevastopol. If we all support ourselves into Romania, we take it, right?
mm-hmm,
And
yep,
it's the only way they can guarantee it is if all of these units work together to take Romania. They might have Sevastopol cut Black Sea and Budapest cut Serbia. They might do whatever, but in this situation, it works out nicely. So there's no way. If we all work together, we take Romania. Boom, let's do it. If we don't all work together, they can support themselves in Romania, and then we won't take it.
mm-hmm,
Boom.
yep.
That's the analysis. My move just roasts that. Toasts it for breakfast.
I think there's a good chance that they look at this and immediately see, oh, hang on, Sevastopol is under threat. I'm going to support hold it before they consider attacking options, right? Because I don't know, when I was a newer player, I would always look at defensive options first. I I feel like that's a very natural thing to go to. So I
I
wouldn't be
guess.
surprised to see Ukraine support Sevastopol here, which is exactly why you needed army build Smyrna or Ankara to move out to Armenia.
Yes.
Yeah, to put 3 on there.
Yep.
um,
But again, paradoxically, because I can't do that, it's funny. But look, that's great. That's a fun thing. Turkey versus the world. We spent whatever 10 minutes talking about the tactics in the South.
yep. It should be fun. Like The fact that France has propped up England now means that England builds Fleet Liverpool because that's the only reasonable option for England to build, which is a very naturally anti-France build.
Yeah, I mean, what else are they gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Right, so let's go ahead to spring 1904 here. So, where are we looking at to start with? Let's look at the tactics that you were talking about. Actually, well, Turkey found another way around this situation. I mean, this is a brilliant way around this situation if you can talk Russia into it. Just get Russia to attack Austria.
Yeah,
Double support
boom,
into
easy.
Budapest. And of course, this leaves Sevastopol vulnerable on the next turn to just these 2 units.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Trieste is probably gonna go because you can probably take Trieste while Russia takes Vienna.
Yep.
Yeah, and you take Naples. You're +3, easy.
Okay, so I think this actually shows why the letting Italy move out without immediately following behind them might have been a good move here, right? Because Italy then continues and goes Tyrrhenian Sea to Western Mediterranean, and then you can move in and have Naples uncontested. Whereas if you'd moved in last turn, you do have to, like, you can make 2 guesses, one in the spring and one in the fall, of which of Tunis or Naples to go for if Italy is defending. But so you have a pretty good chance of getting into one, but there is still a chance you get bounced out twice, right?
Okay, yeah, but also there's a chance that Italy moves into Tyrrhenian Sea, expecting to need to cover both because they're assuming you're going to take Ionian, and then they retreat to Naples, and then they're in Tyrrhenian Sea, and then they cover Tunis. And if you don't take the Ionian Sea, then they hold themselves on Ionian forever, and you never break Ionian.
Yeah, I guess this is where the negotiation comes in, right? Oh, important thing here. Italy does manage to slip into Munich. So if they had stayed in Tyrrhenian Sea here and then been able to guess on the 50-50 to bounce out Naples or Tunis, they could have gotten a fleet build, which is huge, and would slow down Turkey a bit.
Yeah, but this is great that Turkey didn't let them do that. Great play by Turkey.
Yeah. And yeah, especially that Italy moved into Western Mediterranean. Although, actually, yeah, Spain is guaranteed here, right? For Italy as well. So Italy is going to get a build, unless Austria
Well,
wanders into Venice.
assuming they stay in Munich.
Yeah, yeah, okay, they can get knocked out of Munich fairly easily by Kiel and Ruhr acting together, but then
Yeah.
Germany is getting threatened by the Russian units here, so maybe as Italy you just say to Germany, hey, I'm in Munich, but you need me in Munich to help you
I can
keep
support
Berlin.
you into Berlin.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, oh no, I forgot this in the video. This was an agreed thing. Sorry, Germany had said to Italy, you can have Munich if you help me against France. So this was not them slipping into Munich. This was them being given Munich by, by Germany.
That's the best.
Which is actually
Wow.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, having good negotiations with people and they might literally ask you to take their centers, that's the best.
Absolutely. And it is
I
a
should try that. Just
situation
sit
where
next to a center, staring longingly at it for a while, and then hope that they just give it to you.
it eventually works. This is what this
Well,
is
it
proving.
eventually worked.
Um,
You think we're going to see Trieste retreat into Venice this turn?
I think it's a strong possibility, right? As Austria now, you're looking at, hang on, how do I survive? Because Russia comes in against you, Turkey comes in against you. Italy isn't backing you up, right? They're running off the other way and taking stuff. You've got 2 units against... How many units are here? Too many. So running away is a completely viable strategy. And it's probably the best strategy in that situation. Just try and grab what you can. And leg it to the stalemate line. Although legging it to the stalemate line with a fleet that's in Trieste is really difficult. Even if you get it into Venice, then trying to get to Spain and Portugal is near impossible. But picking up the build here so that you can then use that to hopefully, like, maintain Vienna long enough to run into Munich or something, that's viable. So I think it's absolutely a possibility, yes.
All right.
Uh,
This is a good turn for Russia. Tactically, like they're going to be growing. I really like what they did in the north by flipping to go against Germany. I've also been perfectly happy if they'd just taken Denmark and done that, but I like this. I really don't approve of them stabbing Austria here.
yep, I agree.
They're like you needed like we saw how scary it was with Austria working with Russia against Turkey. I Turkey's just gonna kill me, and I'm gonna die as Russia, and I will be sad. Um,
Yeah, Turkey's strong. I do wonder if we ever see another one of these Valefisk videos, whether they're all just going to gang up on Turkey at the start because of how much we've said about how strong Turkey can be.
that's the current tournament meta.
Yeah, it
Like
is. It is
it's
quite often in tournaments you just see Austria, Italy, Russia at the start go in and murder Turkey because
and
they're too
then get
strong.
them out of the game and then fight squabble amongst themselves from there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I or more often Russia just sits there keeping Turkey alive with 2 units in the south and then messes around everywhere else in the map.
Yep.
But yes, no, I look, if they watch the videos and if they care about what we think, I assume they will not let Turkey take Greece and Bulgaria in 01 ever again.
I hope so. There you go. If you guys are watching this, there is your lesson to learn from all these videos. Do not let Turkey get 5 centers in 01. Well, okay, you can let Turkey get 5 centers in 01 if one of them is Romania and you're supporting that up as Austria. But Greece
If
plus
you are
Bulgaria is
inducing a
scary.
war, right, if you promise Italy that they'll take Greece or whatever, maybe stuff can happen. But yeah, if they walk into Greece unopposed, it's bad. Okay, but I think we can go on to the fall.
The only other thing we haven't mentioned here is the fact that Germany got Belgium back, but France traded that for getting into North Sea. Instead of pushing the English fleets ahead of them into North Sea, which is interesting, I would probably have wanted to push the English fleet forward there instead of my own one.
Yeah, that's a
Especially,
really good thing to talk about. Yeah,
yeah, especially with the Italian attack coming in on the south, you kind of want to stay in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, so yeah, you want to push these out ahead of you. But that's not what happened.
yeah, that's a big point. It's the same thing that happened last turn. I thought they did it fantastically by supporting London out into the North Sea in 03, and then England was like, "Hey, I want to get back into London," and then France was like, "Okay, I guess." And I think that was a mistake. I don't think France should have been willing to let them do that, and it should have been, "No, I got you in the North Sea. You need to go and be useful, or here do the same thing." But now they're leaving themselves open for some shenanigans. Um, because if Germany is as anti-France as willing to let Italy take Munich, then England might be able to finagle a stab here and get into Mid-Atlantic Ocean and take Portugal.
That would be
Like,
hilarious.
yeah,
Just France losing the entirety of Iberia to Italy and England, who are both
to
super
Italy and
weak and running
England,
away from stuff.
yeah. So this is looking really scary for France. And the strategic level, generally speaking, I don't like pushing through the north while Italy is pushing on me in the south. Um,
Yep.
I want to let Italy know they're not going to get anything useful from me, so they should shift themselves to the east while I go north. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Agree completely. It's not a good idea generally to keep pushing if you're going to lose stuff in the south because of that, because that just incentivizes Italy to continue their attack.
yeah.
Um,
All right, now let's go
yeah,
next.
now let's go full 1904. Right. There we go. It's in Mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Oof.
Oh, hell yes. Go England. Um, and actually, England takes North Sea at the same time from Denmark, which means they lose the centre, which is very sad, actually.
It's okay. They have an
Uh,
army in Edinburgh that's perfectly ready for disbanding.
what's sad about the English move here is if they hadn't supported themselves out of Denmark, they would have got the retreat into Sweden. But I guess this was probably agreed between.
I'd kind of rather have the North Sea and disband my army in Edinburgh than have Denmark.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, okay, I could see that. The army is not doing anything. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I like units. I would have preferred to have an extra dot.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have this army Eddie, which isn't really an extra dot.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the attempted stab on Turkey in the south, by the way, from Russia?
I mean, not only was it red, but also it was crushed.
Yep. Turkey's like, you are not getting in here in a million years, matey.
And it's so crazy, right? Because Turkey didn't even need to use Serbia for this,
Yep.
right? Okay, so here's a tactical thing, right? It wouldn't have mattered here. They never just, no, don't worry about it. Screw it. Serbia should have attacked Budapest, or maybe it should have supported that. It wouldn't have mattered. But it's fine.
Yeah, if the maximum number of units an opponent can bring against you is 3, you only need to put 2 supports on, so you should be looking at what else you can do with one of those units. And that could be attacking Sevastopol with support. You could attack... You don't actually really want to attack Sevastopol with support here, because you want Black Sea to be in Black Sea, so you can convoy stuff over, I think. But Budapest is a good place to just attack into.
Here we can talk tactics again. So
Yeah.
you can support Romania into Sevastopol while Serbia supports Bulgaria into Romania. Um, and then if you dislodge Sevastopol, you then bounce Romania. This risks if they support Sevastopol into Romania with from Galicia and Budapest, right? The legal move, then they would have strength 3, and then you would be cooked. So that it's a risky one. But it means you're gonna take Sevastopol unless they do that, and then you can bounce Romania.
Yep.
And oddly enough, because this is such a powerful moveset, I would assume them to be attacking Sevastopol with strength 3. So here I would have ordered double support Romania and Romania support Black Sea to Sevastopol, but leveling wars are dumb.
Yeah, it's the wine in front of me stuff, right? You've got
Yeah.
2 options and you have to read the other person's 2 options. Uh, but yeah, so nice little convoy into Naples here. I like that a lot. The Albania thing, because Austria is very clearly running away from you. You can just leave those centers open for the moment and just walk into them later if you really want to. Although, maybe I would have preferred to just move into Trieste here and Naples at the same time to grab 2 builds. 2 builds
Yeah.
is nice.
I would have probably taken Naples, moved it Eastern Med into Ionian, and then supported myself into Trieste from Albania, while still double supporting Romania. And then
That makes
we're fine.
sense. The nasty thing about the convoy is that it does trap this fleet behind, and you do want to mobilize this quite quickly if you're trying to take the win. But yeah.
Yep.
So, in the... is there much else to discuss? I guess France goes for Belgium here with 2, manages to take it, but everyone is coordinating against them at this point, right? To the extent that Italy takes the support out of Munich into Burgundy, doesn't get that build as a result, but also cuts Burgundy, pushes properly into France, and manages to get Marseille at the same time. This
Yep.
is like... It's actually perfect play from Italy if you're trying to relocate to Iberia completely to stay on the stalemate line. Because you're going with as much force into France as humanly possible, and that is great if you want to sit on the stalemate line and survive.
Yeah, it's that thing that we were talking about earlier, how Italy often moves, they slip an army up into Munich and then move it to Burgundy to attack France, this time with support. It's exactly that. So I love it.
Yes.
Um, But it happened to happen while they were losing Venice and Naples, so they're, despite getting a dot, they're actually -1. And strategically, they needed to hold Turkey down, but they didn't. So
Yeah. So if I was playing Italy here, I would probably have tried to stay in Munich. Sorry, I have my phone on my desk. That should not be the case. I would try and keep the army in Munich, tap Marseille with Piedmont, and then go for 2 on Spain, because that's unblockable and you don't need to tap Burgundy to do it. But yeah, this is fine. It's a little sad that you're going to lose one of your units, because if you had these 4 units still in place, you have a really solid attack on France.
Yep.
As is, you just have a fairly solid attack on France. I mean, it's still pretty good.
Russia's also +2, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like the worst juggernaut ever, but still kind of. No, Russia's +3.
Wait,
Russia's +3.
Yeah, they got Denmark as well. That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, Budapest, the one I forgot about, but nah, it's whatever. Point is, they're +3, worst juggernaut ever, but they still win.
Yeah, and if they put those all into armies and then just go south, maybe they can hold against this Turkey for a while.
I actually hear they should build a fleet. They need to build a fleet in St. Petersburg.
Is that because you think Turkey's already going to get to the stalemate line, so you need to solidify your northern holdings? Or
it's that 2 armies. Where's army St. Petersburg going? Like into Moscow from Ukraine?
Yeah, actually, that does get too cluttered there. There's too many units to force in. Although, you kind of do want to snipe these Austrian centres while they're empty, right? So backfilling this line isn't terrible.
I guess. Look, you're building the 2 armies, and then your fleet is going to be super useful because you've just taken Denmark. You have Norway. You might want to take the North Sea. Like, that's relevant. And then the army's gonna move to Moscow, probably. And, like, that's fine, too. It's an even worse army Moscow.
See, if I was playing in this game and I was Russia, my immediate thought right now would be, this is going to end up being a stalemate against Turkey. How do I survive against the Turkey that's coming up to the stalemate line? Which I think actually your play is best for. You put a fleet down here, you try and take as much in the north as possible so that when the stalemate line happens, and for reference, the major stalemate line is along this line right here. So you want anything north of like St. Petersburg, you want St. Petersburg, you want Berlin, Munich, that kind of area, and anything north of that. Then you have as much strength there as possible so people can't cut you from the draw. Although I don't think...
You made a video about the major stalemate lines.
We haven't. We need to make a video about that. I did my dissertation on stalemate lines, but I somehow didn't make a video about it.
Yeah, we should do that. Alright, well, stay tuned. Diplo shorts. Screenshots of a bunch of stalemate lines.
Yeah, okay, so this is actually a super interesting thing about this video. I don't think it happens yet. I mean, it would be a bit early in 1904. But at some point, I think France and England and Germany together look up stalemate lines and come across the diplomatic pouch articles. So these are things that, if you're playing competitive diplomacy, you will know these articles. Like, everyone has read them at some point. I hope you have, Ezio. This is,
yeah, definitely. I've read these articles. Yep.
So they're like very old articles that have little pictures of every single possible stalemate line, right? And
those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I've just seen the images. I don't think I've
The articles are basically just the images with a bunch of just a list of all of these images with the moves that you enter next to them.
Okay, I've definitely seen this one then.
So they stumble across this, and they are actually doing this, but just their reaction to finding that part of the internet was really amusing to me, because they were like, who are these people who are spending all their time writing diplomacy articles about stalemate lines? They don't actually say that, but you can like hear it in their voices.
Who on earth would write this?
And then I go, oh yeah, I'm the guy who did my dissertation on stalemate lines. Just ignore me over here in the corner, please. But yeah,
cool.
So...
let's go see builds, eh? What does Russia choose?
Yeah,
if it's Fleet St. Pete South Coast, I'm gonna cry.
It is not.
Good.
It is Army St. Petersburg.
Center Russia. 7 armies. Okay.
Yeah. This is, I mean, I should applaud this, right? This is all armies Russia apart from your 2 starting fleets.
How does Austria build? Oh, because Budapest got disbanded. Yep.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Which means actually as Turkey you would have really liked to snipe Trieste here, rather than let Austria get a build and put it down.
Eh. Russia's bigger than me. Russia's on 9 centers. You should defend against Russia.
Oh, yeah, speaking of that, it's Power Rankings turn.
Oh.
I have a feeling Turkey might be at the top. What do you think?
Yeah, Turkey's number 1, Russia's number 2.
Yeah.
Is France still number 3?
It's really hard to tell, right? Because these two are so big that everyone else is just irrelevant.
Yeah, and France already has Iberia, so... Yep, and France is the furthest from the Juggernaut, right?
Yeah, actually that fleet Mid-Atlantic Ocean coming off is huge for France as well.
Oh, what the hell?! God! England, stop! This army Edinburgh. Remember when I said this army Edinburgh was useless? Right?
Mm-hmm.
The extent of what Army Edinburgh has done this game is it bounced 1 move from Holland. That convoy in 03, right?
I think actually the convoy in 03 was disrupted anyway, right? The North Sea got dislodged.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep, that is true. It got dislodged. The army didn't even need to be there. So, this army Edinburgh has done literal nothing. It has held the entire game since you built it. It was the second thing you... First?
The first thing.
First thing you built. And it has literally had 0 impact on the game. And you look at that unit and say, ah, yes. This fleet in the mid-Atlantic Ocean. That fleet's not going to do anything useful. This army Edinburgh? Oh, yeah.
Okay,
it's
I will say,
clutch.
I think Edinburgh has had some effect on the game because it stops France from just going up and going for Liverpool, right? But in this situation, you don't need to stop France doing that anymore. France has 1 fleet.
Okay, you're right. It has the fact that it's there has been visually concerning for other powers. Yes. It has been intimidating.
This is my new excuse whenever I build a unit that doesn't do anything. I'm gonna say it is there to be visually concerning to other powers.
It is appealing to the eye. Okay, I'm pissed. Mid-Atlantic Ocean, Fleet Mid-Atlantic Ocean is my opinion strongest unit on the board.
It really is. And doubly so because if you're holding a stalemate line against Turkey, your best survival chance of being... Well, okay, as England, you can probably survive in England. But Portugal is a really nice centre to be in for holding a stalemate line as well.
Yeah. Mid-Atlantic Ocean is... If you are in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, you have control over France's life and death. It's busted the convoy from France against England. It's on the stalemate line. It does everything you want. France can't attack you while you're in Mid-Atlantic Ocean, really. First of all, they need it to attack you, but more importantly, you put France on the defensive. Or you just help France stay alive because it's best unit. Like, it is so important. Maybe most important territory in the game is an overstatement, maybe North Sea, but like, North Sea is always so hotly contested. Mid-Atlantic Ocean, you can often just have it and be safe. Mm-hmm. Black Sea's pretty good too, yada yada. Don't at me, guys.
I think, no, you are correct. Like, I'm fairly certain I remember there being a poll of most important provinces to control in diplomacy, and it is North Sea, Ionian Sea, and Mid-Atlantic Ocean as the 3. Even though none of them are supply centers, they're all, like, having a unit in each of them is so good for control that they are more valuable than any supply center. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about... I might put Black Sea... No, not over those 3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, anyways, point is, that disband... Ugh.
That is...
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, so... We were supposed to be doing power rankings. We had...
Yeah, England, bottom of the power rankings. Nope, England, bad. Bad England.
No. I don't think England is at the bottom of the power rankings here. I think Austria is. But if you want to put
England at the bottom of the power rankings, but you're right.
Okay, so Austria, in fact, I think England might be in a better position than Germany. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
because
they are.
Edinburgh is further away. Fine.
Exactly. It's like England is so far away from the White Walkers down here. They're the Lannisters of this board, right? They're just sitting there going, they don't exist. The Turks don't exist. I can just sit here and do whatever I want.
You're talking about the Lannisters from the Game of Thrones board game?
No, from the Game of Thrones actual Game of Thrones, the series we pretend don't exist, where
Okay.
they sit at home and say, "Hey, bring me a White Walker, or I won't believe they're real."
Yes, in that case. Got it. Understood. Understood. Yeah,
Yeah.
bring me a Turkish soldier. I won't believe in them.
But yeah, they're so far away that they're safe, right? The England is
Yes.
actually super hard to eliminate here because if you turn around to try and eliminate them, Turkey wins the game.
Also, hilariously, there's only two fleets in the north, other than theirs.
This is true, and that is exactly what you're trying to aim for when you play as England, right? To try and lower the number of northern enemy fleets to the point where
Yeah.
you have more than them. But you don't have more
Usually
than
you
them
do it by
because
like taking centers yourself.
yes, but in this case, that they have managed to achieve it without that. So well done. Aren't they stronger than Italy? I think yes, right?
God, they're really squeaking into fourth place. God, I hate these corner powers. They're so dumb. Yes, you're right. It's harder to kill England than Italy, and England has all of their home supply centers, unlike Italy, who has just Rome.
Question for you that might really annoy you. Are they stronger than France?
No, if they'd kept Fleet Mid-Atlantic Ocean, they would be, but they didn't.
I see. I don't know. I think France is going to lose Spain at the very least here, right? And potentially more.
England
England is
will lose North
safe.
Sea too. Just give it a minute.
How did they lose
We'll
North Sea?
disband
They've got
that
two
one
fleets.
too.
There's only two fleets there.
Well, like move out of it or something stupid, man. God, they no, come on, man.
I'm gonna put them above France. I'm sorry,
France is
but
in Portugal.
uh, okay. You know what? Yes, I'll put France above England, but that's tenuous. I really think that England could be above France in this situation.
I think they're like neither one of them are winning the game.
So the viewers couldn't see this, right? Because the power rankings only transition when I hit a button. But during that entire time, I was like meddling with the power rankings and moving things around. England started at the bottom, was just going one up, one up, one up, one up. I really wish I had it live updating because I think that would have been amusing to see. But you heard it in the conversation, right? So, yeah, the important ones are Turkey first and Russia second. Let's move ahead to the spring of 1905.
Oh yeah, let's go. Coalition against Turkey. Hell yes.
I love
This
this
is the
move, though.
West realizing what stalemate lines are. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
very
Is this
possibly.
this is the turn, right? That they looked it up? Or was it last turn?
It's very possibly the turn. I don't
I think
remember.
it's this turn.
Um,
I think they're like, oh god, we're losing Germany, fellas. It's all over. Dude, the West
unfortunately,
can
my
survive
my
now.
notes here say Teddy becomes unavailable for a moment, but comes back quickly. That is all the information I have on this turn in terms of
Alright.
negotiation.
Oh, wait a second. It was Army Khan again.
Um,
Turkey, come on. You gotta get an army into Armenia at some point.
mhm.
Notably here, you're probably fine because you can't actually break Russia, but
But yeah, I actually really love this from Italy France. Convoying the French army into Tuscany is so good in terms of defending this homeland. Um, Although, I mean, as Italy here, I would have actually just wanted to keep pushing into Iberia because Iberia is where you're safe. But if you're going to defend your homeland, this is the way to do it.
yeah. And if the board is deciding we actually need to stop the Russia-Turkey juggernaut, then they will coordinate with you and cooperate. Now, tactically, they can't actually stop the juggernaut, and their saving grace is that they're fighting over Romania ineffectually. Like,
Yeah. It's a juggernaut
Turkey's
that's fighting each other.
it's Juggernaut that's fighting each other and is still crushing the rest of the map.
The-
Although I think it's funny in that most of their progress has been on like the 2 turns they coordinated against Austria and supported each other.
yes,
So
this is true.
yeah,
Uh, Austria's still running to the west as well, and trying to get
I
Munich,
mean,
which I think is the right play here, but just for survival's sake. But it's not going to
yep.
happen. Yeah, I mean, what else do we want to talk about? I think that's basically all there is to talk about from a tactical perspective, right? It's the
Yeah,
rest of the board versus RT, and RT are fighting each other.
yeah. And so okay, this might get really exciting. This game doesn't have an end date because this is just some people playing around if they want to have fun.
Mhm.
And I think Austria is probably going to want to give up. I think England's not feeling excited. But like, real talk, this game can go on for a long time now because Russia and Turkey are both fighting to win. And if the rest of the board works together to start pushing them back, anyone could still win this one now. At this point, it's winnable.
Mhm. Well, your definition of anyone may change, but yes, I I think it is a
Like,
very exciting board state.
I think at this point, Austria has the lowest chance of winning. But even Austria is not dead if really Russia and Turkey currently, if they both commit 4 units to attacking Romania every turn, then Vienna and Trieste are safe. So Austria's just got to find a way to finagle Munich or something, and maybe Russia will help them. Like maybe Austria's like, hey, if you help me into Munich, then I'll build army Trieste, then I'll to stop Turkey from taking anything or whatever. Like I don't know, Austria can maybe even do it, but
Yeah, there are some diplomatic options there.
nah, it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
great.
Uh, in terms of actual moves, there isn't all that much more to talk about this phase. Like North Sea and sorry, Kiel and Denmark um, bounce out against each other, but in terms of movement, that's basically all that happens in the north, right? Norway moving to Sweden is maybe a bit questionable if you're moving St. Petersburg south at the same time, but it's fine. It's there to support whole Denmark, I assume. Um,
Yep.
yeah, shall we just go ahead to the fall?
Uh,
Is that a
yeah.
okay? Right. So fall 1905. I love Sevastopol to Ankara. Just
I think
like
that's a misorder, right?
gimme,
It's
gimme,
supposed to
gimme.
be Sevastopol to
Yeah.
Armenia.
Ooh, that very possibly is. Hang on, I'll see if there's. No, there are not any notes about it, but um, to Armenia would have been a really interesting move, actually, especially since Turkey moves out of Rome again over here, which is an interesting decision. They wouldn't have had any builds here, so Russia could have gotten a slight jump on Turkey, at least maybe forcing Turkey to move a unit back to defend. Um, I can't remember what the negotiations were over Rome. I assume that Turkey here made a deal with Italy to back out and let him keep it, but I don't remember that in the video. So, yeah. And Russia moving in to take Vienna and Budapest. It is funny because this juggernaut, even though they're fighting, it doesn't feel like they're fighting, right? They're just kind of tapping each other every so often and then carrying on like a juggernaut would in the other direction.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what Turkey's doing here.
They are staying very still, which is interesting. Um, See, I think it might be just that they saw the coalition happen, right? And said, uh oh, I need to get this coalition off my back. I wonder if backing out of Rome will do it. Um,
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's to say, hey, Russia's a bigger threat than me. You guys need to attack them, not me.
I think that's a pretty good diplomatic play in this situation, anyway. Like, if it does actually get them off your back, then it's fantastic, right? Uh, the question
but
is, will
how's
it?
Italy attacking Russia?
Yeah, that is
What's this army in Tuscany gonna do against Russia?
also true. Probably should have
Yeah,
stayed in Rome just to get the Italian units off the board. Yeah.
yeah, I think at this point, and the Austrian units, like I think at this point you should try to just be killing them. Like
Well,
as
so
brutal as it is.
I think the Austrian is like directly allied to the Turk at this point, if I'm recalling the video correctly. They
Sure.
are trying to help each other. So,
Oh, so then this coalition is meaningless. Utterly meaningless.
I mean, it does something, right? It's
What do you mean? If I take Rome, what's Italy disbanding? Army Marseille? Okay, how are they holding Marseille? By letting France do it? Okay, then what's coming off? Fleet. And then you take Tunis, and then you're through. Like,
yeah, fair enough, I guess.
if Austria is your vassal, then why aren't you killing Russia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so interesting little tactical thing here as well. I think Galicia should definitely have gone into Vienna instead of doing this Budapest to Vienna, Galicia to Budapest thing, because that's just a little bit. I mean, it ends up in the same position, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really
Congo
matter.
lines
It's
are
a
minor
tiny,
stuff. They're
tiny
super minor
tactical
things that it's easy to notice, and it's like, hey, yeah, that is pretty much a mistake, but totally fine.
Yes, and maybe the most major movement on the board is up in England. Norwegian Sea and North Sea being taken, so they are positioning to convoy into Norway, and that's not something Russia can stop. Oh, Russia gets a build, so they can stop it, right?
And it's something that the army in Edinburgh could do that the fleet mid-Atlantic Ocean could not.
It is. It is. There you go. The army in Edinburgh is coming in handy. Oh my god. Okay. So I do actually think that taking Mid-Atlantic Ocean off the board, as much as you'll hate to hear it, I mean, you probably agree, to be honest, was the correct play if you're going with this coalition of everyone against Russia and Turkey thing.
If you are trying to... I'm not even like, if you're trying to go with the coalition, then yes, I agree. I'm not convinced you needed to go with the coalition. I'm not, like, on the turn that you disbanded it, Russia had built an army. It wasn't attacking, like...
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's tough. It is still close. Obviously, getting a coalition against the two leaders is good. You're happy to do that. If you have to disband Fleet Mid-Atlantic Ocean to get that coalition, like, ugh, I want to vomit.
Yeah. Okay, well, shall we go ahead to winter?
Yeah, tough consideration. We'll see. I don't know. It's still like this position for England. England might actually gain a dot, which is very cool.
Yes, but it will be in the next year because this has been full. So
yeah, it might gain a dot, right? Because there's still there could be a build in St. Petersburg. So
yes, and Vienna being taken allows that. So shall we go to winter then?
yeah,
Okay.
it's not. It's in Warsaw.
Warsaw.
Fleet Adriatic's off.
I would have built in St. Petersburg here, even given the Turkish strength. I think the fact that that England is just threatening to take Norway, I want to stop that happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, Russia's about to see why a 9-center Russia is less threatening than an 8-center Turkey.
Yes. In fact, it's a 10-center Russia right now.
Oh, it's a 10-center Russia now, and it's not even a little bit of a threat.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a threat, guys.
It is a fair bit of a threat. It's just that Turkey is the bigger threat in this situation.
Russia is a threat that you can handle. Turkey is a threat you cannot.
Yes. Because look
if you get the board of the coalition to say, hey, we have to stop Russia, you will see that Russia will lose centers. When you get the board of the coalition against Turkey, you will see Turkey stop advancing.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
The important thing here is surface area, right? If you look at how much the Turkish units have adjacent to them here, and then look at how much the Russian units have adjacent to them, you can see that, well, okay, so the Russian centers, forward centers have adjacent to them. It's very easy to push Russia back because there's so much around them, like there's so much area you can push them back in. Whereas Turkey, they have all these units and they're compressed into a tiny space, which makes them basically impossible to push backwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Related to the surface area, it's important to think of how many units can your enemies mobilize against you. And with Russia, they can mobilize many units. With Turkey, they just can't.
Yep. There's no way this... Well, okay, so Norwegian Sea could theoretically get there, but then it would be useless because it would be stuck behind the Italian fleets that are already like taking up that entire area. So yeah, and it would take forever to get there anyway. So yeah, shall we move on? I don't think there's much.
Yeah, how many centers? Okay, before we do this, how many centers do you predict Russia is going to lose this year?
Oh boy. Okay, so they're definitely losing Norway. They are very possibly also losing Denmark. Certainly one of Denmark or Berlin, right? Possibly both. I think that might actually be it. They could lose one of Budapest or Sevastopol, but I feel like that's less likely from this position. So I'd go ahead and say... something, but I gotta wait for Diplostrat's Siren to finish. I wonder whether I should leave these in just for the hallmark of Diplostrats. Anyway, yeah, I'd say upper bound 3, lower bound 2. What about you?
I would say 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you're being more solid in your answer than I am.
Yep, I would say 3. I think they're going to lose Norway. They're going to lose... It's possible to lose both Berlin and Denmark. I think that's unlikely. I think it's possible that Austria managed to make its way back and then retakes Vienna or Budapest. Or St. Petersburg, something slips in there. Like, I think St. Petersburg is very unlikely. But there's just so many possible centers for Russia to lose. I think 3 is going to happen.
Righto. Well, let's move ahead to the spring and see what happens there. So, okay, wait. This might
Russia
be
almost NMR.
This
Oh
might be the.
man!
This is one of the turns where the moves are unknown. Aside from, let me just read out the notes here. Confirmed moves: Italy's Marseille to Spain, Fleet Tyrrhenian Sea to Rome, Fleet Tunis to the Tyrrhenian Sea. And the fleet in Tunis to the Tyrrhenian Sea must have been bounced by one of the Turkish fleets. So these are all of the holds on here aren't holds; they're just unknown orders from the video. So sorry,
They are
to
moves
say
that did not complete. Okay, great, got it. So there was probably some tapping, like Denmark attacked Kiel with support, or like Ukraine, Sevastopol, Budapest, messed around with Romania at some point.
Yeah, and this is why I also want to say huge thank you to MaximalMegaminx for figuring all these out. They did put in moves that did clearly happen as the result of the turn, right? So stuff like Norwegian Sea to Barents, that is the only way you're getting an English fleet into Barents from this position, and they saw on the next turn there was an English fleet in Barents, therefore this must have happened. That's what the rest of these moves come from. So English Channel moving into North Sea into Skagerrak, and so on are all resultant moves of the situation.
Yeah.
But you are correct that Austria tries to turn around, goes into Tyrolia as well.
Yeah, probably with support, but doesn't manage to get into Trieste. That's fine.
Yep. And it's possible that this Trieste attack was supported by Budapest. I'd probably expect it to be. So either Austria tapped Trieste, didn't get in, or supported themselves into Tyrolia to give themselves a better attack. So Perhaps the most interesting thing that we can see that happened this turn is the English moves up here. What are your thoughts on those?
Uh, well, I would have liked to just take Norway. I'm not a huge fan of France walking into the North Sea, but what we're gonna see here is one of the cool parts about diplomacy that makes me love it as a game. This game that's so much about mistrust and so much about optimally being working for yourself and about backstabbing everyone. When you can actually coordinate with somebody in a situation when your interests actually align and you can just make the best moves together, it feels really cool. Because it's true, honest to God. It's working together. It's not like these co-op games where you have to work together because that's what the rules say. Here it's like, no, we are working together and it can be magical. And so, look, I don't have the North Sea, but it's fine. I mean, that unit, that French fleet, it's practically my fleet. So I think it's cool.
I'd say it's practically your fleet until it convoys Belgium to London in this situation.
I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen this turn.
mm, I
I think it's convoying Edinburgh to Denmark.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I mean, I know what happens here as a result of the video, so I
Yep.
do know what it does. It doesn't convoy the army to London, but I would be very scared that it would as England in this
Oh, of course,
circumstance.
it's petrifying. But that's it's what's so cool about it is when it actually works and you get these magical, beautiful moments of actual friendliness. And also, I like just as a result of the Turkish moves, I think there were lots of support holds, but just nothing happened for Turkey. And yet their positions looking
Yep.
great.
I
Man,
uh,
wonderful.
but no,
What a
what you were
beautiful
saying
moment.
is like exactly the reason why I like playing something like Diplomacy and I don't really play something like Mafia anymore, right? Because it's so much more satisfying to uh, like do social deduction or to work together when you are doing it of your own will, right? You're talking to someone and you're figuring out this is someone I want to work with, this is someone I can coordinate with in this situation, rather than what did your card tell you you were supposed to do.
Yep.
But
In
yeah,
diplomacy, if there is someone that you hate, you never have to work with that person. You can always just kill them. It's legal.
it is often in your
Um,
interest to work with that person anyway, which is what makes it interesting, like,
but
right?
you don't have to.
But you don't have to. Yeah, you can just die.
In Mafia, if you want to kill somebody day one every time, then you're just you're actively playing against the game and no one wants to play with you. So,
Yeah. To be fair, I'm not
whereas if
sure
I
I'd want to
know
play with
that
someone in
Captain Meme,
diplomacy who was always killing me.
yeah, whereas if I know that like Captain Meme has a grudge against somebody else, or like there's this Diplo-Strats rivalry where if we're ever in a game, we have to see who did better in that game, and so we try to kill each other. Like if I'm another diplomacy player in that game, I love it because I can feed into it. I can say, "Hey, I'll make sure they lose. You should help me be strong," and then
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's great.
And hey, those
So it's
players could
cool.
like pull a surprise out of the bag and work together.
Yeah, and then maybe they can. But I want to go see the fall.
Okay.
I want to see this beautiful moment
Okay, I
if it
believe
happens or not.
we do have moves for the fall. So here we go. Lots of orders. And it was a beautiful moment. It's the French convoying the English over to Norway.
And
Uh
and Russia's -3, right?
one, two,
Norway, Budapest,
three.
Berlin.
Yeah, you were correct. Nice
Easy.
call. uh
Let's go.
I didn't even notice the French unit going into Marseille. I mean, I think I half noticed, but I didn't think about it.
Yeah, and then it moved into Piedmont. Good. It doesn't take it in the
Uh,
spring, but
Sorry, yeah,
Italy
I
still
meant
took
Munich, but Marseille.
Portugal, and now and Rome is covered. So,
So,
oof, did they forget this wasn't built anywhere, and they can't build a fleet in Tunis? Because they might be trying to make a little stalemate line.
the, uh, I I think Italy just expected France to take that. I think this actually becomes a bit of a running joke, right? Because France keeps forgetting to take Italian centres that they agreed to take. Because they move in the spring and then move out in the fall, thinking, "Oh, I need to do something else in the video." This is the first of that, and it is going to become a running thing.
Oh my god, how much longer is in this game? Oh no.
Let's just say we should probably do the next years faster than we've done the previous ones.
Great. That's good. Oh no.
But yeah, and the fact that Turkey is playing all this through a hurricane is very impressive. Like
Seriously, Turkey's crushing it.
Yes, absolutely. Although I don't think I agree with the moves here. Moving up to Adriatic and back out into Ionian Sea, that feels like it's going backwards. Maybe it's correct if you like really want to make progress against Russia up here, but I feel like you could do that anyway. You could just move Greece up to Albania and then make that push.
Especially since Austria is pretty much your vassal.
Yes.
Which it's not. I don't think Austria is. Like, looking at these moves, I don't think Turkey and Austria are working together very much.
Maybe I was mistaken and it happens later that
Maybe.
Austria does that. But yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't this doesn't look like much coordination there, right? There's no supports really going on. Why has Greece been sitting in Greece for ages? Why hasn't it moved to Albania ever? I don't know. Questions for later.
But yeah, Turkey's going to get a build from Budapest, so...
Yep, Turkey's getting a build. I hope it's another army and be convoyed to Sevastopol.
I have some things to say about this build, but that will be after we're done talking about this turn. So is there
or an
anything
army in
more you
Ankara
want
and then move
to,
to Armenia? No, but look, England's getting another build. Is it going to be another army? Are you going to see another 2 army, 2 fleet England?
Just rely entirely on this French fleet in North Sea to convoy you out over and over?
I mean, okay, I would love to see that happen, and then for France to stab. Oh my god. I went to winter.
Okay, so an important thing about the winter here, right? So Turkey has a build. They do make this build. There is a note here saying, Turkey, Army Bulgaria build, question mark, question mark, question mark. And it is apparently successful. They managed to put an army down in Bulgaria. So on the next turn, you'll see an army there already, which is definitely the most effective build you can do as Turkey.
I think I'd rather have an army in Ankara.
Over Bulgaria? Okay, yeah, I guess, because it goes down an angle that isn't already covered by armies. I'd be tempted to put out a fleet, actually, just to try and push this front forward. But
it's so annoying to push through Turanian, man.
But yeah, so the important thing to note, you cannot actually build in Bulgaria. It is not a home supply center, but of course, misadjudications happen in tabletop simulators, so they totally forgot about that for a turn.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fleet Munich, baby. Let's see it.
I think actually MaximalMegaminx says here he doesn't actually see the order of Army Bulgaria build, but Turkey does have an army in Bulgaria on the next turn, so it's also possible that it just slipped during the turn somehow. But yeah, so
sure.
Anything else you want to talk about here?
Army Eddie.
Yes.
I mean, hey.
I hadn't even looked there. Oh my god.
Denmark's open, but here we're just right. This is the trust game, and here I would trust no further. This far, because if I get Eddie convoyed out of Denmark, as the French player, I am gonna convoy Belgium into London. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
I actually am a weak person. I could not resist that.
I don't think it's even being weak. I think it's being correct.
I am a mere mortal, and if you give me all of England at the low cost of an army and a fleet, I'm gonna take it, and you can't stop me. And I'm sorry.
But, like, can you even stop that by building a fleet here? I don't think you can, right? Because if you build Fleet London, that's even worse, because they then just convoy into Edinburgh.
Well, no, I dislodge your
then
fleet.
You dislodge it, yeah. Okay.
You don't get your convoy.
But then they retreat into Edinburgh, so they still take the
Yeah,
centre off
you
you.
lose one center, but I lose one center. Okay, I'm back in the North Sea, and like, I would build the fleet in London, and I would say, hey, France, I'm going to be taking the North Sea. Um, you should go into Denmark, or you can make it seem friendly. Hey, I'm going to dislodge you from the North Sea so we can do the weird retreat thing, and then we can see where they go, and you can go to wherever's open. Yep.
Hmm.
Like, whatever. But I, if this army gets convoyed out and France doesn't stab England, I will have so much respect for this France player. Let's see the moves.
All right.
Oh God, it's
Wait.
winter
It's
again.
power ranking turn.
Power
Yes.
rankings. All right,
Okay. So
Turkey.
Turkey first.
Yeah, then still Russia because the coalition's got to stick together, and it might not. Then England. No, then France. Then France. Then France. No, France is above England. France is
sure
still above
about
England.
that?
Yep.
France could lose the entirety of Iberia this turn, right?
Yeah, but it won't. It
If
might lose
Italy
Spain.
just moved
Like,
back
we're
to
gonna
Spain.
convoy Eddie out, and then we're gonna kill England. Done.
Yeah, okay. I think France is better than England just because France can stab England very easily.
Yeah, alright. Then I guess we'll put England above the other guys, the Central Powers. Yep.
Okay,
Italy's
so
the best of the Central Powers, and then
yeah,
Germany,
because
then
they're in
Austria.
Portugal. Yeah, I agree. Which it means here the new power rankings are exactly the same as the old power rankings.
Great.
Let's go ahead to the spring of 1907.
Okay.
Okay. Right, so lots of support holding up here. No convoy out of the English mainland for England, and in fact, Germany gets supported up into Denmark. So, where is England going to get convoyed? Nowhere, I guess. I do love
Holland?
St. Petersburg's throwing a support on Norway, going, "Hey, England, please, you've taken
And
one.
St. Petersburg wasn't supported.
No, so it could have been taken.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guess, right? Every turn, Sweden or St. Pete. Where's Norway going?
This is true.
So,
And in fact, on the next turn, you kind of have to just support. Well, whichever one you support is the one that's not going to get taken, assuming that England and Germany are working together, because they can put 2 on both, right?
well, they can, but Russia can counter by putting 2 on Norway.
Oh, as in attacking. Yeah, that is true. They support hold St. Petersburg and then attack Sweden into Norway with St. Petersburg support, and that counters that and takes Norway. Loses Sweden but takes Norway.
Yeah.
Nice tactics there. But yeah, so this English army is just going to stay in the English mainland, I guess. I would have loved to see it move down to Yorkshire in that case, just to provide France with a guessing game if they are going to one of the... if they are going to stab, because it dissuades France from stabbing a little bit, but this is fine.
English Army 2 Electric Boogaloo.
So is there anything else you want to talk about here? I guess Russia pushing into Cilicia?
Yeah, I mean, that's standard tactic stuff. It looks like Russia's trying to make peace with Turkey, and Turkey's okay with it.
Yep.
I don't understand Ionian Sea hold. I don't understand Greece hold. Yeah, I don't like trying to make peace as Turkey here. I think you just kill, you crush, you see a weak Russia, and you like make moves against them and attack them. Been trying to get rid of this fleet Sevastopol for the entire game, and it looks so vulnerable. But
I don't know if Turkey has actually attacked Fleet Sevastopol even once. I think they've mostly been getting tapped by it or support holding.
Yeah, they've just been support holding Romania. I think so. Yeah.
I think it's kind of fair if you're trying to play through a hurricane to play a bit defensively.
Yeah, and to have just screenshots and no, it's of course an impossible situation. No, I know.
But like, but actually, if you're lacking internet like that, your best strategy is attacking everyone because you're not going to be able to negotiate with them anyway. So go
if
for
you're
it.
gunboat, you don't have to attack everyone.
That is true. You could throw out random support holds to convey your intentions instead of talking to people.
I mean, look, if I cannot talk to people and can only send, like, get screenshots of the board and stuff, like, it's gonna be a challenge for me to make things work, so.
I do note that Army Bulgaria holds is a bit of an odd one. I guess it could have been built in Constantinople and then moved to Bulgaria this turn, and maybe
I
that
think
got
that's
missed.
probably, like, there's gotta be something like that.
But yeah, it says here in my notes, it says it was already in Bulgaria during this turn, though. So
Yeah, it's possible.
yeah,
It's possible stuff got moved around and it got knocked or whatever and, like, got moved. It's mostly inconsequential.
yes, it's absolutely inconsequential given it held this turn, because now it's in the same position it would have been otherwise. So yeah, I guess the only other thing to say is well done in Italy on getting another home centre back, despite not supporting your move in.
Despite not supporting, despite being multiple hostile enemy armies, hey, it's fine. It does leave Tunis vacant,
Yes.
so Ionian can walk in there, but I don't know. It's fine. If I'm Turkey, I'm 100% doing it because
Yep.
then I can get back into Ionian later and I can build more and I have like can actually get Tyrrhenian Seas, don't have any annoying guesses anymore. Everything's fine. But
Yeah.
maybe not.
Okay, so shall we go ahead to the next one?
Yeah.
Alright, so fall 1907.
Huh.
Oh yeah, I remember. So on this turn, Turkey agreed to convoy Austria's unit to Tunis to let them survive the game, right? And then
Yep.
decided to side with France and murder them. Which I think is kind of fair, but like you don't need to rub it in by using 3 of your units to blow up, 4 of your units to blow up their army in Albania. It's coming off anyway. But yeah. Oh.
Yeah, if you just cover
So,
Serbia, like I mean, I would have been really tempted still to support Greece to Albania because I just want to have my army from Greece and Albania, and I've wanted it there for the entire game. But
yeah.
nah, it's fine. I don't
But
know, like
convoying Apulia back is like, ouch.
convoying Apulia back. It's like if you're trying to stoke the flames of this Italian-French war, like to get them back at each other's throats, then I guess you're doing it right, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I, I would agree. Um, I just find this really amusing, right? Just using so much to kill Austria.
3 units to destroy the 1 unit, and then having, I assume, Adriatic convoy Albania to Tunis. So when
Yes,
you're reading
the
the orders out,
oh
like,
no, Adriatic, sorry, convoyed Apulia into Albania, right? Um,
oh, and then Ionia supported. Oh, of course. I was thinking Ionia was doing the convoying.
that was my
Oh,
initial assumption too, but it wasn't
no,
the
you're
case
right. You're
here.
right. I was thinking he was going for the maximum troll. Um, because when you read the orders out, you read them out one line at a time. So you have Fleet Adriatic, convoy Albania to Tunis, Fleet Ionian, convoy Apulia to Albania. Wait, what?
Yep. Uh,
Just
But yeah, I do love the dedication to killing Austria that they just gave up the free build in Tunis to do it. They didn't even need the support. It's 1 unit. You can do it with Greece. But yes,
they
it
did
was
it.
done. Um,
Yeah.
and
And now Italy gets to build, right? Italy
yes.
is still playing down one, right?
uh, Even with the build, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they take Spain and Naples on this turn. They only lose Marseille. That's incredible. Like the Italian recovery here has been fantastic. But the sad part
Yeah.
is if you lose your home centers, it's just so hard to get units back down. Even if you
Yep.
retake them. Um, I do have some notes on this phase, sorry. England's card was obstructed in this phase in the video, so you couldn't see what the English moves are. But
Probably attacking St. Petersburg.
it looks like England coordinated North Sea convoy Edinburgh to Norway, with France, and Denmark support Norway to Sweden with Germany. Yeah. However, clearly Skagerrak to Sweden succeeded, meaning that Norway to Sweden was never attempted. Okay, so
Sure.
they coordinated these moves with Germany, France, of moving these
Yeah.
armies over, and then just went in with the fleet instead.
Yeah, I actually like that approach, right? Let Norway take it. Because if you double support it, Norway to Sweden is also very likely. Um, Technically, if you use Barents to cut St. Petersburg, it's actually guaranteed, but whatever. And then you can still get your convoy off. Yeah, I like that. I like that approach.
Yeah, but they went in from Skagerrak here, so uh, yeah, and it's possible they were doing something with Norway attacking St. Petersburg or something like that, but it's not shown here because you couldn't see the orders card.
Yeah,
Yeah, anything else you want to talk about here?
let's do it.
Alright, let's go ahead to winter 1907. Um, so, Fleet Brest, Fleet London. England is getting a fleet down for the first time this game. Oh no, second time, sorry. They built Fleet Liverpool at some point. But
Yes, they did.
I think they've built an even number of armies and fleets now.
Yeah?
Uh,
All right, well, rip Austria. Good fight.
yes. Well
And
done,
then
Austria,
Army
for
Rome.
surviving that long, to be honest.
Wow.
Take that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think Turkey's done its job, and Turkey has gotten Italy to attack France.
Why do you... What, with the army room? Oh, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah, because if you want to defend this against Turkey, you need Fleet Naples, Fleet Tunis, Fleet Turanian, right?
you need more fleets than you have.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Uh, and Turkey, maybe that move to Albania was a masterstroke.
Yeah, man,
I guess we'll
brutal
see.
game.
Yeah.
And Russia, poor Russia. The coalition did its job, whereas Turkey is still at 9 centers.
Yep. The coalition has exclusively hit Russia.
Okay, also, did Romania and Black Sea hold last turn? Sorry, I missed that. I didn't notice.
Hang on.
I didn't notice
Yes,
the
they
two
did.
units that chased the Sevastopol holding instead of taking Sevastopol. Okay, that's fine.
Well, I should note, like, Turkey has never made an aggressive move against Russia outside of taking Budapest, right? They were just
And Romania.
supporting Romania all game. Okay,
They took Romania from
actually,
Russia.
yeah, that is true. But since they took Romania and Budapest, they've just been support holding here. Maybe they just don't want war with Russia. Maybe they like Russia. I don't know.
Okay, what if, in order to hold the center, you had to hold it for a year?
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Imagine if Turkey's is playing a harder game
Oh,
than
I
the rest of
see.
us.
So it's like the coring in imperial diplomacy, right?
It's like the
You have
coring
to
in
stay
Imperial.
stay in the center as long as possible after you've taken it.
You have to stay in that center for a full year after you conquer it.
That would make some of these moves make sense. Um,
No, I think it's being really defensive and not going. Yeah, it's being really defensive and not being the fastest at attacking. But you see, it's worked out, right? It got the coalition to hit Russia and not Turkey.
yeah,
Turkey's been able to keep growing smoothly. Like, it's going great.
yeah. Shall we go ahead to spring?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right. So spring 1908. Let me check if I've got any
Oh
notes from this one.
no!
I do not. Which I see.
Turkey took Sevastopol from the Black Sea.
Ouch. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right, looking at this, because you think, oh, if I move from Romania, Galicia can get in, but you can just backfill from Serbia. There's no problem there, and the fleet, oh no.
Yep.
There's nothing to defend Ankara.
Nope.
Yeesh.
They can even retake Sevastopol if they want.
Yeah, that is true. They can cut Romania with Galicia and then support one of these two units in.
Either one of them, and it's their choice.
And supporting the army down then means that you've still got the fleet in Armenia. But honestly, I think I'd prefer to just waltz into Ankara at that point.
Yeah, I think waltz into Ankara, and then I don't know. And like Turkey is still gonna be okay. They're still taking Vienna, but my God,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Uh, um, we see Italy repositioning here. I like these orders. The orders on. Oh, hang on, I haven't got my cursor showing. Sorry. I like the orders on Naples. Into Tyrrhenian into Tunis, because this means that as long as Turkey doesn't go to Naples, you bounce out the Turk wherever they go. Which, I mean, they can still guess correctly against you. But this is a nice defensive order set. I think you wouldn't expect, at least at the, when you're just thinking over this as a newer player, you certainly wouldn't expect them to just leave their home center unguarded. So it's a nice thing to leave unguarded, just as a guessing
Yeah.
game.
Oh, I mean, it's almost always it's great, and I think we're gonna see if Italy is willing to support hold France in Venice next turn,
Yes.
because that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. Because Italy hasn't been moving against France really here, right? But they did tap Venice, which is an odd one.
Looks like they were expecting support, if you ask me.
Yes. Oh, and England is finally into like a normal England position of now being able to convoy that army in Edinburgh out to somewhere. They are back defensive again.
Well, I
Hey,
mean, they don't have. There's a fleet in the English Channel, and they don't have London. Well, they don't have an army in London,
this is true,
so
but like there's
it's look.
still.
It's a playable England position.
I am gonna be interested to see your opinions in the power rankings phase, but we'll save that till the winter. Anything else to talk about here?
I like the strategy of letting Russia go south,
Yes.
of recognizing Turkey is the threat, and Russia is one of the few powers that can actually fight Turkey. So if we want to slow Turkey down, we need Russia to be alive. If we let Turkey kill Sevastopol, they're going to take Moscow and Warsaw and Vienna, and then they'll be on 14. And like, okay, we can't actually hold the stalemate lines. They don't solo, but if we want to solo, we need Russia to actually stall off against Turkey a little longer, whilst one of us in the West consolidates. So I like letting Russia back.
Yeah, this is a super important tactic when you're playing diplomacy. Is just knowing when to let off someone because they need to defend something else to stop someone else getting too big.
Yeah, even if you can, like, you can beat them. Russia is not going to be able to hold St. Petersburg. So,
Yes. Um,
yeah.
okay, so shall we go ahead to fall?
Yep.
All right, fall 1908.
God.
I'm trying to figure out. I assume it's this right at the top, the English moves.
Yeah, it's just
Yep.
so many compliments. Just like, look at this great play, wonderful strategy. You got to let them do it. You got to let them go. It's actually a good time to focus on anything else in the West.
Nope.
I mean, look, taking St. Petersburg is good too. Obviously, we're happy about it.
Yeah.
And this works too, right? We probably got St. Petersburg even faster this way, right? Because we get it next year. So,
Honestly, much faster because yeah, it's convinced Russia to move out of Gulf of Bothnia, and
yeah.
Finland, which they were initially in. That's quite a difficult position to break, and Russia moving down south now means that 3 units on St. Petersburg immediately force it. But
Yep.
at the same time, it does kind of go against everything we were just saying.
Yeah, I like taking St. Petersburg though. Take it. You can't take it with the fleet. You can. You can take it with Barents. Yeah, just take it with Barents. Tell them,
Yeah.
look, disband your fleet in the Baltic Sea. We'll be fine. Everything's okay.
So this play makes sense if you're just gunning for the stalemate line as fast as possible, right? You say, hey, I don't actually care whether Russia can hold Turkey or not because Turkey is eventually going to be on the stalemate line. I may as well just take
Oh,
this center here.
yeah, that's what this looks like. The West is just saying, look, we're gonna hold a stalemate line, and no one's gonna kill us. Boom,
Yes.
done.
We'll note that Germany's decision to force Munich without clearing any home centers for a build is an interesting one.
It's tough, right? Because you have to take it from Kiel. It's the only one
Yes.
that lets you build. Otherwise,
Uh,
if you move Berlin out, actually, you could take it from
you
Berlin.
could
You have to
take from
take from one
Berlin.
of the home centers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so basically
Oops.
any way you could have taken this except for the way you did would have been better.
Yes.
But, you know, sometimes you're not thinking about where you can build, you're just thinking about gimme dot. So dot get here. And France does take an extra center to make up for it in Spain, but they also lose Venice. So, yeah, they're -1 for them.
Yeah, because, and here, right, Turkey is getting the Italian-French war, man.
Yes. So,
Like, if you're trying to soloist Turkey, this is how you do it. You've got to make it
absolutely.
happen. Really impressive play. Really nice stuff.
We were saying before, will the Italian be willing to hold the French? Because in this position, it looked like the Turk was just going to go Trieste to Venice with support from Adriatic, but they try something completely different. They say, "Hey, Italy,
This is way better.
have Venice back." And actually, I think Italy is going to get a build. Yeah, they are going to get a build, right?
Italy's playing down one.
Which you would think is a really bad thing if you're trying to make progress as Turkey, but if Italy is your vassal state, or is like pushing hard this way, you absolutely want them to be strong. You can say, hey, you know, you weaken this bit of the line while I get into position to try and get my 18th dot. Because the 18th dot is always the hardest one. I say always. It is if people know about stalemate lines. So... Right. Shall we... sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the 18th dot isn't always the hardest to get. I think Italy's 5th dot
Fair enough.
is
Italy
harder.
has achieved that here. They did get a 5th
Italy
dot.
has gotten on to 5 dots.
I don't think they ever had
unit,
5 units, but yeah, they have...
Now they'll have 5 units, though.
There you go. It only took till 1908.
But hey, it's better than being dead at 1908.
But yeah, that is absolutely true.
Alright, power rankings time, yeah?
Well, let's go into the winter. Yeah, important note here. You see the army in Spain disbanded here from the French. That is just because the person making the sandbox had to put in a disband for France. Apparently, they just forgot that France lost the center, and therefore they kept all their units here. So you'll see that unit in Spain staying on the board into this next
So
turn.
France is not actually -1. France is playing at 6.
Yep.
Ooh.
Got the good old Flying Dutchman unit. Fun little diplomacy historical fact for people. The guy who made the game of diplomacy wrote an article saying it was totally fine to just slip units onto the board during a tournament, because that's within the rules of the game. And if no one notices it, you're allowed to get away with it. Which is exactly what happens here.
Diplomacy has a long history of cheaters cheating in important situations.
Yes.
And people being remarkably okay with this.
It's because, so, diplomacy's rules say that you're allowed to do stuff like listening in at the door, right? When someone else is talking to someone else, you know, just like little diplomatic tactics that you can use. And then people kind of extend that to, hey, you can get away with cheating sometimes. And nowadays you can't, right? If you try and do something like this, keep an army in Spain on the board during a tournament, you would almost certainly not get away with that because people would be tracking the board with the backstabber sandbox and go, hey, that isn't supposed to be there. But certainly through the past, things like this happened. And
I think there's absolutely zero ill intention here, right? I don't think that France is cheating. I think that these are a bunch of beginners who are struggling with rules, right? Who don't know about army swapping and stuff. And like, I don't think there is anything here, right? I'm not trying to say that. Just.
But it should be noted that the people who did this in tournaments also went, oh, hang on, who still do sometimes go, oh, hang on, I completely forgot that that I was supposed to take a unit off in Spain.
Yeah, you see
When
these world-class
sometimes,
players
yeah.
forget that they're down as dot this year, and you're like, uh-huh, yeah, sure you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyways, great.
Yes.
So point is, this game,
Oh,
France is going to have an extra unit on the board. It's interesting if like France loses one center, are they going to disband once or twice? Maybe they'll never lose a center again, and we'll never have to worry about it. But
yeah. It's possible. We'll keep
yeah,
track of
power
that
rankings
unit
time,
as we
right?
go. Yes, it is power rankings time. So,
Well,
Turkey
Turkey
first.
number one.
Yep.
Do 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 do.
That's a tune I have not heard in a long time, and I hope we don't now get copyright struck.
I doubt it.
I think that's short enough.
God, I think England's number two.
I think so too. Although
Yep.
it's quite a lot lower than the top slot spots, so I will leave a gap in the power rankings here.
Yeah, Italy's number two.
Italy is
Sorry.
not number
England's
two.
number two. England's number two. I
Yeah.
think Italy's number three. Italy's not number three. Italy's
Italy
gonna die to
is.
Turkey. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, that was my thought there. I think
Yep.
it's tough to say that Italy is above any of the other. Okay, they're above Russia, right?
They're above Russia, yeah, because Russia's the actual one that's gonna die to Turkey. And
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like England is gonna kill Germany at some point.
Yeah, I could see it, although I worry that the stalemate line collapses if they do that, right? Because how is England going to
You
get
got
the army
some
there in
time.
time?
You got a little bit.
There's a lot of armies to break through here, in the German core, and as England, you're having to individually convoy them onto the mainland. It's really hard. You need
I
France's
mean,
support.
there's a French army in Belgium.
Yeah, if you get
You
France's
got an
support,
army
you can
in
maybe do
Norway.
it. But look how difficult getting. Oh my god! Stop sirens! Ah. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna keep talking. So and now I've lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the stalemate line
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Germany and
Sorry.
trying to hold it as England being a challenge because you can't build on the line.
Yeah, but also France is losing stuff to Italy in the south, right? They're trying to defend themselves down there, and therefore you don't really have their support against Germany, I think. So I would be surprised if Germany dies from this position. But are they less likely to die than Italy? I feel like Italy can get a secure-ish position on the line just with the amount of force they're bringing against Iberia. But I think it's less secure than the German position right now.
I think it's very likely that everybody except Russia makes it to the end of this game. I think that nobody here has a chance of winning except Turkey. I think it's very likely this game is going to end with Turkey at 17 and everyone else surviving with some combination of the other 18.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but that is not helpful for power rankings. So
Yeah, which is why I kind of like we can put whatever order we feel like for the rest of them.
I've put the order I feel like. I've put Turkey, then England,
Great.
then France, then Germany, then Italy, then Russia. Although Germany and Italy kind of exchangeable.
Totally fine.
Okay, shall we go ahead to spring of 1909?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna
Okay.
check. Yeah, no notes for this. Alright, poor old Italian army finally gets disbanded over there in Portugal.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Italian attack is kind of ineffectual here. When I say kind of, I mean completely. This is not what you want to do when you're attacking something. You want to focus on a specific province and then maybe do some cuts around it to try and make it happen. Don't just tap every province, unless you think the person is going to be moving out of everything, which... like here, the attack would have been more effective if Western Mediterranean had just held, right? Because then Marseille would have gotten into Spain, you would have gotten into Marseille.
Yep. No, this one unit stopping two always feels so good.
Yeah.
Because it stops them from taking Spain or Marseille, and you just force Portugal to disband, and now you're pretty safe as France. Italy's not doing anything.
Yeah. I think this might actually be the time where they start looking up stalemate lines. I don't think it was earlier, Because I vaguely remember the statement being that England goes up to Italy and says, hey, we're looking at stalemate lines, we want to cut you out of the game. Or at least they want to. We're looking for stalemate lines between us three. Which doesn't seem in their interest to tell Italy that, but I don't think it was their plan anyway. I think it was France and Germany's plan.
Yeah, and like to look, if you're not the one eliminating them, it's a good thing to tell somebody, right? Like it means you can have a good relations with them. Leaking information's frequently correct.
Yeah, just because it boosts your reputation with them. Although here...
Everyone who's playing games with me right now, ignore that. I promise I don't leak information to anyone. Nobody tells me anything. I have nothing to leak.
Amazing. Okay. Right. God, the running Diplo strats has done so much damage to like both of our reputations in games. It's insane.
Dude, I am actually playing a game now, which has been a minute, and I'm playing with people who have watched the Imp Dip, and they're like, wow, Ezio's a pretty good player. I'm just like, oh, I'm not. I'll talk about diplomacy. I'm bad at this game. And then they're just talking, they're memeing on me, and it's like, oh god.
I'm playing Media Wars 4 at the moment, right? Which I probably shouldn't talk too much about because
yeah, we're gonna exactly.
But I will just quickly say that at the start of the game, I got someone telling me, "I know you're a balance of power player from the Imperial Diplomacy video, so please can you not play like that this game?"
Yeah, no, it's great. No, it's really funny to see how it's changed with like. People know how we play now and are like mean to me about it. All right, okay. But this game still, we're talking about this one, not our lives.
Yes.
And poor Italy. Italy's getting cut from the draw. Very sad. Tactics were not.
I'm really sad to see this Russian move out of Ankara. I think just stay in Ankara until they kick you out because they can't bring that many.
I actually like this move into the Black Sea.
Really? Oh, to try and take Sevastopol, maybe? Or to lock down as many units as possible?
To be in the Black Sea. Against beginner players who want to keep all of their centers safe, if you have one unit in the Black Sea, Turkey will keep 5 units holding forever.
That is fair. But I think like, you're gonna end up in Black Sea eventually anyway, right? Because they have to bring the units there to knock you out. So just wait until you're knocked out. Because then you don't lose
things might work out. You might be able to get yourself into Sevastopol if they don't move like this. You might see that something's open, like, and you might need to walk into Bulgaria or something. I wouldn't recommend that particular tactic, but I like being in the Black Sea more than being in Ankara generally.
Oh, you know, the thing that I've completely missed with this analysis is the fact that England just stabbed Russia, so Russia may well just be giving that centre back to Turkey as like a... Okay, screw you, England.
Yeah, it's possible. Or they might have thought that Sevastopol was moving into the Black Sea and they were going to bounce.
Oh, that's also completely reasonable, actually. You do want to bounce that move out every time. And I think that's a pretty reasonable move to expect. Because usually you'd expect this Romania unit to want to get into Sevastopol, to put an army there so that they can attack Moscow. So yeah, actually, this is the right move. Ankara to Black Sea. In every circumstance, I think.
Pretty much. And then, yeah, you're kind of sad that they walked into Ankara, but you don't really expect to be in Ankara forever. It's a thing that you got for a thought to be +1 unit, but...
But yeah. So...
Alright, let's go to the next.
That is basically everything. Let's go to fall 1909. My notes here say Teddy briefly experienced technical issues again. But I don't think that changes very much. Yep.
Sure.
So he manages to take Warsaw and Ankara, which is nice, but covered up Constantinople, I get completely reasonably, right? This is what you said. You cover every single supply center around that. You can actually cover it with far fewer if you just use self-bounces, but that's not something you'd know at this...
not even that many fewer. It saves you, like, whatever, 1 unit.
That is true. Unless you keep a unit out in Aegean, right? You bounce Ank and Aegean over Con, and then 7 Bulgaria.
Yeah. Aegean still covers Con, so there's still a unit covering Con, essentially. Right? It's not that different, but you're also in Aegean. But yeah, anyways, it's not great.
But it's a good result getting to go +2. You're only going to get to put down 1 unit, but that's okay. You have
it's where that self-bounce in Con would have been huge. But yeah,
Yeah.
this works, and Turkey's loving life, right? Turkey's gonna keep pushing. They're gonna get Moscow because Moscow's not gonna be held forever. It's gonna take a little bit because that annoying fleet in Sev, but it's fine. And there's this war between Italy and France where they're struggling to survive on the stalemate line, and sometimes this gives you the safety to weasel through, but with France sitting in North Africa and Mid-Atlantic Ocean, I don't think Italy's gonna break through. So I think we're gonna get to the
Yeah,
end.
I agree. I do want to say I think the stoking the France-Italy conflict as Turkey absolutely worked. Right, it was a genius move in this circumstance because they're still fighting. And you do sometimes see this kind of thing happen even in high-level games because France is on the stalemate line, right, and Italy is not on the stalemate line. So in the kind of game where you're using draw size scoring and it's the number of players left in the draw at the end that matters, France really doesn't want Italy to survive, so they will just fight them forever. Um, so this does work even in those games. France in this case actually does manage to take Venice, but walks out of Portugal at the same time, which is fine. I think Portugal they can take whenever they want to at this point, but it is amusing because it leaves them on 6 dots. Like, sorry, it leaves them on 5 dots when they think they should have 6 because of the previous turn's misbuild. So they actually build a unit on this next turn, even though they're not supposed to. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Wait, did they end up on 6 here?
They end up on 6.
I've got in my notes that they build a unit here.
Well, they have a
Sorry.
disband in Piedmont as well.
Wait. They have units in Burgundy, Marseille, Venice, North Africa, Spain, and Mid-Atlantic Ocean. You know what? Let's just move ahead to the winter and do you want to talk about this attack into Denmark? It's like a very small thing. Usually you don't want
Yeah.
to do stuff like this.
But Germany disbanded, which I think is them being like, yeah, all right, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah. Because you got to hold the line, right?
Yep.
Right, so let's go ahead to the winter phase here. So France isn't shown to build a unit. Wait, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do have 6. So did they retreat to Marseille? No.
No,
1, 2,
the
3,
Army Piedmont
4, 5,
disbanded. They
6.
had 7,
Oh, they had 7. Okay, I see. And
and
then
then
here, they actually do build a unit in Brest this turn, even though it's not shown on the map, because they're counting back from their previous things. They saw, oh, I got an army blown up here and I still have the same number of supply centers, so I should gain a unit. Which is...
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right, and England builds 2. Nice part of being on the backside of the stalemate line, right? You can just take whatever you want.
Yeah, and for like having the pressure to get Russia out of Scandinavia. Right, it's why all those years ago I was pushing for Russia to build fleet in North Coast St. Pete to hold, but it's okay.
Yes.
Russia's about to die. England's doing great, and we'll see if like that fleet in Kiel looks to me like Germany is gonna try to defend against England and not let England take everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's gonna work. Like Sweden, the Baltic is pretty brutal with Livonia coming off, the Black Sea coming off.
Yeah. I do think that Denmark unit coming off was correct, though. Like, building this fleet, it's not good for the stalemate line, but it is good for stopping England, like saying to England, hey, you are not going to advance any further against me. It's a warning thing.
Yeah, and like the stalemate line to hold from the west requires so few units. You don't need to be optimal about holding the stalemate line. Like, you can use fleet still. Fleet Kiel can still move into Baltic and support Berlin, and then you just need whatever, a couple units, like,
Yeah, Ruhr
to
and
support
Burgundy are
Munich.
enough to hold Munich in that circumstance.
Yeah, as long as you have Berlin still. So it's like, it's totally acceptable. You haven't jeopardized anything. You're threatening to jeopardize it if England does any more damage to you. So
Yep.
I love it.
Let's...
And yeah, if they'd retreated, right, then it would have been an army there. So the disbands, so that you can rebuild as a fleet. It's a nice,
It's a super
clean
good
understanding.
tactic.
Good.
Yep.
All right, let's see some moves, eh?
Okay, yeah, spring 1910. So Turkey now starting to move properly forwards, right? Although still supporting Italy into Venice, which then lets France retreat into Rome.
Yeah, stoke the flames, and France pulled north to attack England because England got a little antsy.
Yeah.
Man, if Turkey hadn't pulled their fleets all the way back to Caen and Trieste and was still sitting around Ionian, they might be able to get there in time.
It's a
And then you
tough
can talk
one.
to Italy and say, look, Italy, they're trying to cut you from this draw, right? You know the way to screw them is to let me win and make all of them lose. Because you're going to lose anyways. So might as well screw them too, eh? Eh? Huh? 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 And
Yeah.
then,
I think the actual reason for this in the video of what is happening here is basically France and Germany proposed the stalemate line idea, right? England got strong, and England said stalemate lines are boring. Let's just keep playing properly. And went and attacked them. So this is what's going on here. So yeah, the stalemate
yeah, I
line
mean,
seems like less
look,
of a possibility given that.
if the Western Triple just agrees to go to the stalemate line and then just lets Turkey get really big every game, diplomacy would get quite boring.
Yes, it is very
Someone in the
fair.
East is going to get pretty big, and they're going to be on whatever 15 centers, and on the West is going to hold, and then that's it. Like, okay.
But yeah,
But every now and then it can work, and there are times where it's necessary because you can't actually win. I think that England being the biggest and like feeling pretty strong is going to lead to Turkey winning, so it might have been correct here. But
I think
yeah,
in a tournament game, right, you would say, okay, this is really bad play from England to break up a stalemate line like this. In a casual game, it's completely fine because
well, it depends.
what's
Even
the
I'm not even convinced it's a bad play. If it's sum of square scoring, you being on seven dots versus six is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this is
Um,
true. Only if you can re-establish the stalemate line afterwards, right? So you have to then try and convince Germany and France to stay, or you try and
yeah,
convince Italy to get enough of Iberia and then hold that line.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it is scary because you are letting Turkey get way bigger, and you're probably better off even in draw in sum of square scoring to keep Turkey at 12. Like again, Turkey's gonna take Moscow and is gonna take Venice and is gonna take Rome and is gonna take Naples. So that's +4, right? So it's like, are you gonna be able to stop Turkey from taking Tunis? Maybe, probably. And then is that better? Haven't done the math. Stopping Turkey from going from 16 to 17 versus you going from 6 to 7? I don't know. I'll do
Yeah.
math later. But growing is nice. I understand it. I think taking Denmark was good. I don't think taking English Channel like this and like forcing this war is going to go well for England.
I don't
But
think so either. Basically, if you were doing this for score, you would want to snipe Denmark and say, "Oh, I just did it for score. It's fine. I'm gonna leave you alone. Beyond this."
yeah, and then hey, I'll even support you. I'll move my fleet into the Baltic Sea to help hold the stalemate line.
Yeah. Um. Right. So, do you want to talk about anything else here? I really don't
Let's
like
go
the
folly.
Italian going into Venice here. I think it should have gone to Rome, and then attacked in the fall. But that is
Yeah, it's
just
fine.
because of
They're
what I
fighting.
see.
It's a losing fight for their life. So
Yes. Okay. So fall 1910. Here we go. Is this one that we're missing orders for? No, it isn't. Okay. So these are the moves. There are just a lot of holds. Um.
yeah,
Yeah. So not a huge amount happening. England managing to take Belgium here and surrounding the German center in Berlin, uh, which is good for attacking them, bad for holding the stalemate line. And I like what Turkey's doing here, moving to the line, right? Try and take this while everyone's preoccupied with England.
yep. If Turkey takes Munich, it's looking very likely Turkey solos here.
Yep. They still do need to push into Italy and get Tunis, which means get more fleets. But yeah,
Yeah, I understand why, kind of. I understand why Turkey is trying to convoy Smyrna out, and instead of just walking the armies, because it's pretty slow. But I think Turkey has missed this Armenia Sevastopol thing the entire game. I feel like I feel like Turkey should have tried to move armies out Armenia to Sevastopol for just, I don't know, 80% of the game. And as a result, they're going for this convoy. But even still, I want to move my fleets out. I think that's a priority over trying to get armies to the front.
Yeah, I think it's probably still a case of I want to keep Italy on side, so I'm not going to advance into Ionian. But this is too late to be doing that. You need to be pushing forwards.
Yeah, like you make a move for the line, you make a move for the entire line at once.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I should note this move here. I have seen that before, and it is a bit of a trap for beginners alongside. Well, I'll talk about that in a sec. But this unit, this canal in Constantinople is just a canal through Constantinople. You do still need to go into Constantinople and then out again on the other side. You can't just jump over it.
Oh, that would be a cool buff to Turkey. Oh, man.
That would be an incredible buff to Turkey, a country that does not need to be buffed, at least not at this level. The other thing that traps beginners, I think, from board perspective, quite often people think that Spain and North Africa are connected by land, and they are not. These are very
that
separate
one
provinces.
that one gets me. Well, got me.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, let's go to the spring, eh? Or winter.
Right. Well, winter first. No. Oh, France should have disbanded, but doesn't notice that their count is off, so this disband didn't actually happen.
Yeah, because it's the same count as off, right? They didn't gain or lose any centers, so.
Yeah, exactly. And
Wait,
then,
didn't they lose Belgium?
Hang on.
They gained Rome. They
gained
lost Venice.
Portugal as well.
They gained Portugal.
Yes.
So they're +2, -2. Yeah, it works out. They're still at 6. Okay. Great.
So, no builds from the Turk? Did they really get no builds?
They took Moscow.
Yeah, they should have gone plus, but they're not building. Guess.
I think the time to appear unthreatening has passed. Right around once you reach double digits.
Yep. I think so too. But let's go ahead into the spring of 1911.
Yeah, we skipped power rankings because the power rankings don't matter.
Yeah, hang on. We could... I think that they're exactly the same as they were before. Oh, except Russia is dead.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Russia's dead, and yeah, it's very similar. And yeah, in spring 1911, you hear?
Okay. Yeah, I'm...
This looks like one of those turns that they couldn't figure out what orders happened, so...
Okay, yes. The moves are unknown for this turn. The resulting moves that they do have are France manages to get into Venice. Italy ends up disbanding Venice on retreats. And Turkey... Oh, Italy moves Piedmont to Tuscany, and Turkey moves Adriatic to Apulia, Aegean into Ion, so they are jumping forward, and Cilicia into Berlin. So there was much more activity around here, but it didn't result in any movement, and we don't know what the orders were because they weren't shown in the video.
Yeah,
we could
and I mean,
try and predict them,
I like the inferences in Italy because of the moves that occurred. You know that Rome has to then be the one that supported Tyrolia into Venice.
Yes. An important note here, it couldn't have been Piedmont that supported Tyrolia into Venice because you cannot dislodge your own unit with your support. So...
Yeah, that's right.
Fun little fact there. So... Yeah, I like the fact
Yeah, you can get to these funny situations. Yeah, that tactic is a relevant thing. Because it still is considered for the strength when attacking it. So, like...
Yes. So you can bounce someone else. Like, you can beleaguer your own garrison. That's not going to make any sense to people who haven't read articles about diplomacy. You can bounce
your own garrison?
Yeah, so a beleaguered garrison is a unit with strength 1 defensively that still manages to hold out against a stronger attacking force because another stronger attacking force comes in with the same strength. Right? So,
sure, and that's just, they call it that.
Yeah, so they call it a beleaguered garrison. It's like if 2 units attack with strength 2 and there's just a unit that's stuck in the middle with strength 1, the defending unit still wins because it's equal attacks.
Yeah, the way to think about it is they bounce each other out, and then there could be no units there, and nobody takes a center, and so yeah, you can get the weird stuff. We don't have to worry about it. Let's go. Let's go to
Yeah,
the folly.
fall 1911. I think we also don't have moves for this turn, but we have a couple of resulting ones. Greece ends up getting convoyed over to Tunis. Turkey manages to take Naples. Seems implied that Italy is fine with them taking these centres at this point, because Italy is going to get cut out of the draw regardless, right?
Yeah.
And somehow the German unit ends up in Cilicia and the Turkish unit ends up in Munich. I don't know whether that's agreed, but I think it is at this point, because they're like, okay, we're gonna just let Turkey win because he's close enough to a win, and then we can go to bed.
Yeah, and this is Turkey going +5, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is 18. So
you
congratulations, Turkey.
If you have Munich and Berlin and Tunis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats to Turkey. I am sad we didn't see these final moves, but I get the sense that everyone's tired and they're just off it. So
yeah,
I don't think it matters too much.
And I think it's even though it was quite a slow roll to victory, well done to Turkey for being able to do that during a hurricane with your internet falling out constantly.
Incredible, yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's telling that both of the two games that we watched went very similarly. Turkey getting ahead early, the West being chaotic, not figuring their stuff out, and then Turkey crushes to the win.
Yeah, it is.
So,
I am a little bit surprised if that happens very regularly. I would assume that the meta would change at some point, but I guess we'll see if he makes another video.
If the meta is constantly involving convoying Moscow to Sweden, and pushing north all the time, and Italy and Austria aren't able to coordinate with perfectly against Italy, or against Turkey, which is hard, right? It's if they haven't seen a Lepanto ever, like,
yeah,
how do you crack this?
Like, Lepanto is super unintuitive as a thing to do to start the game, right? Because first you have to convoy your armies somewhere where it's useless, and then you have to, like, jump in with your fleets to somewhere where it still looks useless. Then you convoy your army over to another province that looks useless, and then you get to attack in the year after that.
Speedrunning Valefisk Diplomacy meta.
But no, I do like that in this video they did actually manage to coordinate this Austria-Italy. Like, they went, okay, we're the weaker powers, we're going to coordinate together. They just went in the wrong direction. Right, they should have coordinated in the south instead of going for Munich, and that is what you see in tournament play: is Austria and Italy work together, because if they go for each other, they die. But yeah, unless you have an Italy who likes stabbing, Italy can get away with attacking Austria. Austria cannot get away with attacking Italy.
There is not at the start. Not at the normal strategies. You have to find some nonsense going on to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as I said, I think right at the start of this game, the most successful Austrian attacks against Italy are when you ally yourself with Italy and then you stab them right before they get their fifth center, when they're forced to leave Venice open in order to go and get something. Then you just walk in behind them. But
then you deny them the build, you build your army in Trieste, and then you walk into Rome, and then they're dead.
Yeah, exactly. But this is irrelevant to this game. Absolutely well done to Turkey. I have not moved on to the final screen here. I think I will. They actually put in dispense. Alright, well, this is the final result. 18 centers to Turkey. I wanted to say thank you again to MaximalMegaminx for making this possible. Thank you to Valefisk for making amazing videos. And for putting diplomacy on the map, right? There's been a huge influx of people since you did that. So thank you, and we will see you next time.